your order. Explore all of our tasty options at okcciviccenter.com/food.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Winter Sale and get 30% off paints and stains January 17th through the 27th. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your bedroom, living room, or home office, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
For new carpet, the Home Depot is your destination. With a large assortment of affordable carpeting and the brands, styles, and colors you need. And for new carpet savings, the Home Depot also has you covered. With 10% off all special order carpeting right now. Enjoy long-lasting comfort at a great price and free installation. Offer valid January 9th through January 26th, 2025. Receive 10% off special order carpet and installation. Installation included in select markets with qualifying purchase. For licenses, see homedepot.com/license numbers.
This new year, I want to spend more time with my family, get healthier, and make sure my finances are in order. That includes finally securing life insurance. My friend recommended SelectQuote. They've helped more than 2 million people find coverage in the last 40 years. In 15 minutes, a licensed insurance agent found me a $500,000 policy for only $16 a month. And my husband got a $500,000 policy for only $18 a month. Plus, we qualified for same-day life insurance. No medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. With SelectQuote, even if you have a health concern, be it high blood pressure, diabetes, even heart disease, their experienced agents can find you the right life insurance policy at the lowest price. Make health insurance the first resolution you choose.
Austin. Hey. Okay, so where do we go from here?
I don't know. He just said put that on you. Why not you?
So when I click on the QR code, this is the same thing, of course, like, you know, what's on the blackpower.com. This is asking the question, but as far as...
Your email from that so much.
Do I have my email? Yeah.
If we listen to different thoughts and point of views, all my brothers and sisters, we don't have to lose humanity. We're family. So can we please fix our nation's broken heart? Children marching on the boulevard, tears are streaming down their face. Oh, the tension in the air is so bizarre. Love is gone without a trace. People pushing and shouting, fighting through the haze, and all this sadness, madness. Help me take away the pain. It's gotta change. This can't stay the same.
Please take your spot.
So tell me, please, can we fix our nation's broken heart? Poverty and hopelessness, can we do away with this? All we need is to be giving for our daughters and our sons. There's the life for everyone. They deserve a new
Cool.
Will the light we share survive the dark? Or will it slowly fade away? Will the light of good be torn apart and swept away by crushing waves? We've been floating alone in a dark and pinnacle, 'cause there's a growing ocean of lies that we've been told to tear us down. But what I found is with our truth, compassion, and love, we can fix our nation's broken heart. Can we fix our nation's broken heart?
City. The all-new Heart and Soul 92.1. You're in the mix with the grown folks DJ Dallas Scratch.
What's up, y'all? Ain't my fault. This is Shaka House. Ain't my fault. We gonna get riding, body. You gonna charge this one to the game. We can't stop. Ain't no limit, you heard me? Don't try. Y'all can't stop us. We ain't my fault. We still stop. We can't stop now. We can't stop. Ain't my fault. You can't stop. So don't try. Ain't my fault. It ain't no limit. And we don't die. Ain't my fault. We don't die. Kick it off. Important people on my page. I might not break out the day, but I get under the table. Don't make me feel your potato. Don't make the devil your neighbor. I might not be nothing to you, but I'm on this label. Five, what's the word minute? Make it hard to digest what I said. But five, what the number one hits on the billboard, y'all gon' keep it that way. Hold on as tight as you can. Whatever you do, don't lose your grip. Not only anticipate your every move, they wait for you to step. But like I told you before, we're not gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe. I'm not about living in no 6x6. Wearing no jail stripes. Been bodied from the start. We run. You don't wanna go to war. Superstars. You know who we are. From poverty to projects to living large. It takes one hell of a combination to get what we got. We soldiers on the mission. You can't stop. We can't stop now. We can't stop. You can't stop. So don't try. We true soldiers. And we don't die. We don't die. We don't die. We can't stop now. We can't stop. You can't stop. So don't try. We true soldiers. And we don't die. We don't die. We don't die. They wanna start something. They don't know and they can't finish. My boys wanna go to war, but they know and they ain't winning. I'm gonna keep this party jumping like a second line. Been riding, I've been riding. You don't know about my second rhyme. No, let me take my next, so check the respect the time. Y'all wanna play, but I guarantee you won't play for the second time. Time I'm in camouflage, sometime I'm in all black. Y'all wanna go to war with us, and that you know that we all scrap. But get the cops, the boy don't stop till I drop by no means. Look, reaching out to no means, take it up like an OG. Heaters we all got, sometimes it's all. Keep one to change, but they to make sure they all. Went from a small knot to a tall knot. I got all the G's, breaking these down to all rock. Blow the spot till it's all hot. Why the world together, y'all not. We ain't gonna stop, cause y'all stop, give us all rock. If you wanna get it started, let's get started, now do it right. If you wanna get it started, let's get started, let's do it tonight. Like a clown, so watch what you talk. Smooth. What? Can you teach me how to dug it? You know why? Cause all the girls love me. All I need is a beat that's super bumpin'. And for you to back it up and dump it. Get it. Put your arms out front, lean side to side. They gon' be on you when they see you hit that Dougie ride. Ain't nobody kidding with my bro from Morningside. He go by Bubba and he hit that death like thunder. Okay, I ain't from Dallas, but I need town boogie. I show my moves on to everybody trying to do it. I lead the functions and all the ladies trying to screw me. Now you just do you, and I'ma do it. Dudes love to hate, so they try to shoot me. Females be stuck to me, I think they try to glue me. I make the party shine bright when it started glooming. This beat was bubble gum, so I had to chew it.
Taste me how to dud. Taste me how to dud. Taste me how to dud. Taste me how to dud.
Everybody love me. Everybody love me. Everybody love me. You ain't messing with my Dougie.
Taste me how to dud. Taste me how to dud. Taste me how to dud. Taste me how to dud.
got six, but it's money they love. All at the club, talking games, study bumping they gum. Running game on them groupies, about the money they earn. Get your game straight, quick and got your broke for show. Nowadays, try to hate on them, no. You a hater, though. Go, go, show them haters out. Show them haters out. Show them haters out. Go, go, show them haters out. Show them haters out. Show them haters out. Go, go, show them haters out. Show them haters out. Show them haters out. Go, go, show them haters out. Show them haters out. Show them haters out. Easy does it, do it easy. That's how I do it. Whatever it takes to get them ladies into it. Sexy Brown say he buy you diamonds and gold. Try to play the hard role, keep the candy on hold. Yo, but every time you see them 20s hit the curve, you get paid on the third, so you hop this perk. Study mass, thriving, game on tight. Checking out the rear view, haters jack all night. Always a third eye on my diamonds and rocks. Sacrifice, he ain't innocent. Rubbing the spot on the setup. Haters got freaks at work. Try to get you for your ends, plus your stash to hurt. But see, I told my heat at all times.
I'm half of the Open Mic Talk Show, and I'm going to do a plug too. Make sure you listen Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. On 92.1 and 1140, where we do a full newscast, and then we just kind of open it up to the public. Any questions or comments that you have, joining in on the conversation Monday through Friday. So, and that's me, Terry Monday. I'll take that. I got one.
Sweet. I'm Janice Francis Smith. I'm the managing editor of the Black Chronicle newspaper. All right, well, hello, everyone, and I am Lana West with the Open Mic Talk Show. Everybody point at me and say, "Oh, that's Lana." Oh, that's Lana. Just getting that out the way, Terry. You know how that goes. Thank you guys, of course, for being a part. And I just want to make mention that we do have a Q&A session, and that's, of course, going to be, throughout the forum. But we're going to put up a QR code where you can scan and also ask your questions. I'll be right here live, and I'll be asking those questions for you. And then also for those that are listening over the air, if you would also like to participate and ask a question, please go on the website, blackchronicle.com.
Okay. Lana stole my thunder, and I was just talking to Janice. I said, Janice, I am 6'6", and I have to keep bending over, and I wanted the handheld, but we'll make this work. So we'll make this work. So let me start off once again by welcoming everybody. We appreciate you being here, and of course, people are listening to the live broadcast right now on the radio station, as well as PPBC TV and PPBC TV YouTube. Let me just kind of go over the rules, of course, for tonight's debate. We're going to have candidates wanting your vote for, of course, 3 positions: Oklahoma City Public School Board of Education Chair, Oklahoma County Commissioner District 1, as well as Oklahoma City Council Ward 7. And how we have this set up is we're going to always start from the left to the right as far as the introductions. And then Ms. Janice says, as far as if we ask a candidate a question, and then everyone will be able to respond to it. And then the second question, we're going to start with the next candidate, candidate 2, and go down. Also, as we start from the left to the right, all the candidates have already pulled names in closing, the closing statements, and if I'm not mistaken, I think the closing statements are in the same order that they're in right now. So we also have the QR code if you guys have questions. And then for the audience here, if you have questions as well, please raise your hand. Even if a candidate is responding to a question or answering a question, you can raise your hand so Lana can see. That's one of the most important things, that you are a part of the process also, okay? We can sit here all night long, we can moderate this, we can start it, and we can close it, but I think the most important aspect of any debate is to be able to hear from you. So make sure you raise your hand, and Lana will make her way around to you. Now, if I'm not mistaken, also we'll have a time, and you guys are going to have to bear with me because I do have a clock here as far as, we're running at 3 minutes. So what we're going to do is when you're asked a question or you're doing your introduction, Ms. Janice will let you know you have, what, did we say 30 seconds? Mm-hmm. She'll do her Vanna White voice, 30 seconds. No. and then you can continue, and then I will say, thank you, candidate, and if you're in the middle of your comment, whatever it is, just go ahead and please just finish your statement. So without further ado, I'd like to start off, of course, Oklahoma City Public School Board of Education chair candidates, and we would like to, I'm going to refer to you as candidate, and I'm going to do that for all three segments, only because some of you, I do know, I've had you in the studio, I want to be fair, and I don't want someone to say, oh, Terry took care of his buddy, when that's not true. So I'm going to refer to you as candidate 1, candidate 2, and candidate 3, and if I do say your name specifically, I'm just trying to get your attention, you know, kind of like mama shaking us and like, you wake up. So we'd like to start with an introduction, and we'll start with 3 minutes with candidate 1.
Okay, good evening. My name is Paula Lewis, and I had the distinct honor to be the school board chair for Oklahoma City Public Schools Board of Education since 2017. My tenure actually began a year before that in 2016 as the District 4 board member. And my beginnings on the board were simply out of a mom wanting to advocate for their child's education. When I got on the board, I was blown away by the inequities that were in our district, the lack of opportunities, the lack of rigor, the constant turnover of our superintendents, and we had work to do. And so my first 3 things that I wanted to work on when I became the chair in 2017 was improving transparency, improving superintendent stability, and bringing the mental wellness of our kids to the forefront so they could access their learning brains. Proud to say 8 years later we have done that. We have Embrace OKC, which is our mental health initiative, and it is now a model for the state in education for mental wellness. We had Dr. Sean McDaniel for 6 years, which is twice the average superintendency for urban superintendents. We currently have Dr. Jamie Polk as our superintendent. She was in the district for 5 years. We didn't just hire continuity with her, we hired results. She took us in elementaries from 19 F schools to 2 F schools. She'll tell you 2 F schools is too many, so we have more work to do, but we have a plan for that, and her plan is solid. Now she's over middle and high school, so we will see the same progress throughout that. When we talk about transparency, you can go to okcps.org, and you'll see 5 years of financials, whether it be our audit, our budget, any other things. We also started live streaming during my tenure, so you can go back and see the work of the board for the last 8 years on YouTube and our live stream channel. We have so much more work to do, and we've done more work than those 3 things. We have right-sized our budget, and what that did was that provided a full-time PE and a music teacher and an art teacher at every elementary school, regardless of your zip code. We have focused on teachers' compensation. We are now one of the highest paying for our new graduate coming out of school, and our teachers hit their highest step, which is basically their highest pay raise, sooner in our district than any other district in the state. So we know that's important to get high-quality teachers in the seats across our district. On top of that, we passed the largest bond in state's history, and what that does is that is bringing forward workforce development. But what that means for our children is all the way into elementary school, they're going to start being exposed to opportunities. We're going to create internships inside of our district and work with partners outside of our district so kids know what is available to them. We want them, when they pass the graduation with the diploma in their hand, to be able to be highly qualified to either enlist in a great job in the Army, if that's what they choose, the military. We want them to be able to enroll in a career tech or a university and choose whatever path they want to choose because they're qualified to do that. Or we want them to be able to go right into a high-paying job, whether that be a trades job. They'll get those certificates in our workforce development or our career and college readiness buildings that will come out of the ground in 2026 and start operating. I want you to vote on February 11th. I want to continue the momentum for Oklahoma City Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate 1. And let me say for the clock keeper, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Guys, I'm in radio. I do a lot of stuff on the fly, so some stuff I may go off script or whatever, and trust me, it's not only to make myself comfortable, but to make you comfortable too. So thank you, Candidate 1. Candidate 2, your 3 minutes starts now.
Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank the Black Chronicle for this important conversation. But most of all, I would like to thank you, the audience. Your presence here shows that you're involved, you're interested, and that's extremely important. So I want to thank you for being here. My name is Jan Barrick, and I have spent my entire career improving Oklahoma schools. First of all, as a teacher, a special ed teacher, and then I have worked with over 200 schools in Oklahoma, 200 schools. I started a business that took the lowest performing schools in the state, and we have 4 National Blue Ribbon schools. So we took the lowest performing schools in the state, and we made them the best in the nation. And I can do that for the Oklahoma City Public Schools. Over the last decade, Oklahoma City Public Schools have been held back, and they've been held back for many reasons. And part of it is lack of leadership. Oklahoma is number 49th in the nation in education. Oklahoma City Public Schools are ranked at the bottom of the bottom. So Oklahoma is 49th, and Oklahoma City is the bottom of the bottom. For many, many, many years, we have all sat around and talked about and heard and complained about the quality of education in Oklahoma and Oklahoma City Public Schools. We talked about that when I was in graduate school. How do you go, when I say fix, I mean how do you go from 49th to number 1, like the governor said he was going to do? How do you take number 49 and become number 1? We used to talk about that all the time in graduate school. And I still thought about it when I got out of graduate school. And then I had the experience of being a learning disabilities teacher, and I took my students with learning disabilities I taught them how to study and how to learn, and I wrote a book called The Way to an A, How to Help Your Child Succeed in School. And my students with learning disabilities started making the honor roll. And then I started saying, well, if I can teach students to improve, can I teach schools to improve? And so that's what I did. I started a business, and we took the bottom 5% of the schools in the state, which were known as the school improvement schools, and I went from F's to B's, and in fact, I was just met Elsie Winston, and I worked in her school, Roosevelt.
Thank you, candidate.
We went from 50, from a D, an F to a C at Roosevelt.
Thank you. I was just told I was a little bit hot on the mic, so you guys just let me know if I am a little bit hot on the mic, because once again, we're broadcasting live, we're streaming, as well as being broadcasting on the radio. Thank you, candidate number 2. Candidate number 3, you have the floor, 3 minutes.
Hi, I am Nia Spriggs, and I am running to be your next OKCPS board chair. I am a mom of 5. I am a teacher. I teach math, special ed, I have certificates in math, special ed, and business education. I've come from the business world. I am in that. I've worked on Wall Street for a short time. I've worked for Bank of America, Citi, and things like that. Probably about 20 years ago, I was looking in the community in Oklahoma City, because I'm actually from here, and I was looking around trying to find a school. I was looking around trying to find a school for my son. And in that time, I could not find anything, so I said, I think we should, I'm a good business person, maybe I will start a school. And so I filed the application to start a school, and then life started lifing, and so I could not start the school at that time. But a few years back, a few teachers and I got together, and we said we should start a school. So in the last 2 years, I've been working with, I Believe Learners Academy, which is a school, and then we didn't start it to be a school for neurodivergent kids, but it has turned out to be a home for kids who have not been successful in the traditional school model. So I have a lot of experience in working with kids directly and things like that. And so I wanted to come to you today and say, why Nia, why do you want to be the OKCPS board chair? And I've been in talking to the community members and talking to people, one thing I've noticed is that we have normalized things that are just not normal. And I know what you say, Nia, what do you mean by that? So we have normalized the kids not succeeding. We have normalized seeing that if you want to go to a good school, then you have to apply to one of the application schools or move to Edmond or Deer Creek and things like that. We have normalized saying that, oh yeah, don't send your kids over there. Somebody actually said, well, Nia, you can still send your kids to OKCPS just don't send them to one of the local schools. And I'm like, how is that normal? And this is just a normal conversation, and now that I'm seeing it, just think about that. How many people, when they get ready to have kids and things, say, I need to move to Edmond, I need to move to Deer Creek. So Oklahoma City has become the city of jobs and the city of entertainment, because we come back to Oklahoma City to go to dinner, but we're not coming to Oklahoma City to actually raise our kids and actually have them at OKCPS. We have normalized chaos in our schools in that when some of the things are not even making the news. I mean, we've been on the news just way too much. And so we have normalized chaos in the schools, and in that chaos, we want to know why we have kids up and down the street shooting at each other and things like that. That is all started in the school environment. Schools are supposed to socialize, and school is supposed to educate you. And I say that we can do different, and I say that we can do a little bit better. Not a little bit better, a whole lot better. And so that is the reason why I'm running to be your next OKCPS board chair, because I believe that we can do a lot better, and I believe that we owe the kids of this city a better education, a better future.
All right. Thank you, candidate number 3. Remember, once again, if you have a question, just raise your hand, and Ms. Lana West, she'll keep an eye on you. I'll start off with the first question. I know we have an incumbent, of course, concerning this position. This first question is going to start with candidate number 2, 3 minutes, candidate number 3, and then candidate number 1 will respond last. What makes you the most qualified individual compared to the individuals that's here now? What makes you the most qualified individual for this position compared to the other 2 running for the position? Candidate number 2, you have 3 minutes.
Because I've done it. I've been there and I've done it. I've taken the lowest performing schools and I've made them national blue ribbon schools, and I can do it for the Oklahoma City Public Schools as well. It's very frustrating when you have not only do I have a plan, I have a solution. Not only do I have a solution, I have a prototype that shows that this solution works. Not only do I have a prototype, I have data to back up what I did. And it works. I can tell you how much I can improve. I can tell you right now how much I can improve Oklahoma City Public Schools, and I'll be really close. And so that's why I'm the most qualified, because I'm the only person in the whole state of Oklahoma that knows how to improve schools and how to measure schools and how to measure school improvement. I've been doing it for 30 years.
Okay. Thank you, candidate. And if you don't go the entire time, that's totally okay, but we will run the timer. Candidate number 3, you can respond to that as well.
Yes, and I'm a teacher, and I'm actually teaching currently. I literally left my classroom to come here today. So I have the tools and things like that we need. I have a plan called the NEA plan, where we increase accountability, we increase academic achievement, we increase we're going to increase chronic absenteeism and all the things that plan to actually attack this head on and actually make the changes that we need. Also, we have kids with an immense amount of social problems and things like that, and we actually have a plan to address that as well. So kids are coming to school with a lot more baggage than what it was, I'm going to say, in my day. And so in that, we need to provide wraparound services and things like that for these children, and I have a plan that will actually help us do that. And it should not cost us a ton of money, because there are services and things out there. We just have to access the network and actually tap into it. So this is the reason why I work with these kids every single day. I've actually turned kids around. I have a student, and most of the students in my school actually have been placed out of other schools. And in that, they have come to us. We have 3 kids that actually left Edmond last year and came to us. And when they left Edmond, I just could not believe it. I was like, what's going on? These are really good kids. They don't have behavioral problems. They're really interested in learning and things. And they came to us. Today, we were working on proportions. They are 7 and 8 years old. And so I have done it. I can do it again for OKCPS. And as well as, let me be clear, there's I do not believe that I have the answer. So unlike some other people, I don't believe that the answers fall with me. We're going to put a commission together of people who've worked in this community, who know these communities, of community leaders, pastors, politicians, if we can get them, teachers, principals, and things. And we're going to put a commission together to put together a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan, so we have something that we can go on, that if we get a new superintendent, if we get new principals, we have a continuity plan. And so these are all ideas that I actually have and I actually know these people, and I've actually talked to them, and most of them have agreed already to come and help us to try to right this ship. There are people in this district, Tracy McDaniels, Brenda Thompson, I could go on, who have actually worked with these kids and have made significant improvements with the same population that we have. So I am going to tap into these resources, bring these people in, and actually work a plan with Dr. Polk. I mean, I love Dr. Polk. She's a very nice lady, and I want to work with her, but I think that we need a lot more help, and we need help from this community, because if the plan is going to work, the plan is going to come from this community. Most of the kids that go to school in this, and when I say this community, I mean Oklahoma City. So it is not necessarily one particular group, it is Oklahoma City. So we have to get people from Oklahoma City to work with us to make this plan work.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate number 1, can you respond?
Yes. I'm the most qualified for the job because I've been doing the work and I'm currently doing the work. I know the plan that we have, and the plan is working. I'll give you an example of the plan working. Douglas, under the leadership of Principal Jones, has come off the state designated list. It's phenomenal. The Trojans have risen above, and they're doing great work over there. The same at MLK Elementary. We are no longer on the state designated list under the leadership of Principal Rizzoli. The district as a whole is moving forward. We have provided equitable access across this district to provide a world-class education so our kids have opportunities. And it's across the board, whether it be opportunities of what they need because they come to school without it, or it's the fact that our kids are growing. We have not met achievement, and we know that there is more work to do, and we have asked our partners to come in and help us with that. But Dr. McDaniel is the one that started this plan. We have a 5-year strategic plan. We're wrapping that up. We're going to a student outcome-focused governance model. That is the plan. We had 5-6 listening sessions across the district, all the high schools, to ask our stakeholders, what do you think we're doing right? What are we not doing right? What do you want to see more of? And across the board, it was consistent. We're doing a lot of things right. We're treating our diversity right. We're honoring the diversity of our district. We are improving our rigor. We have one of the highest retention rates across the state of our teachers. We have a super high fill rate when we start now because we treat our teachers right. We work heavily with our union, but I've done the work. That's the reason I'm the most qualified. I know the plan. I trust the plan because I trust the people that Dr. Polk has put in place to implement this plan. Every one of them has a heart for these kids. I am a mom. That makes me a little bit qualified too. My children actually attended OKCPS schools. One of them has since graduated. I have an 8th grader currently in the district who's getting a phenomenal education. I had a nephew that graduated from Douglas about, I think it was 6 years ago. I have a 30-year-old niece who graduated from high school here. I have family. It matters to me. It's important to me. That's why I'm in this seat to begin with. I started as a crossing guard volunteer to be closer to my kid and understand better about what was going in public education. And here I am 8 years later, 9 years later, doing the work, continuing to do the work, pushing us forward. If you look at our policies, we have passed policies that ensure protection. We have one of the most strong non-discrimination policies across the United States. We have a strong equity policy that ensures that our budget matches what we say we're doing, and we're showing you that budget online. Our kids are growing at a significant rate, some of them 2 or 3 years at a time because of the wraparound services. The Spencer pattern is about to get an influx of wraparound services so we can get that one righted. That's why I'm the best for the job.
Thank you, candidate number 1. Ms. Janish, you have a question, and we'll start with candidate number 3 when you ask your question.
Great. Yes, I do have a question. The public education system today is facing unprecedented challenges. We've been working through decades of underfunding. A lot of the kids that are struggling the most are struggling because of factors outside the school building. We've got hunger, we've got gun violence, we've got a litany of issues that impact education. What is your plan for how to address that? What do you do with the kids that are struggling for reasons that are outside of the school. And if you can, please point to something specific in your experience that shows that you can helm that, something like that.
Yes, so we have a plan. I told you I talked about my plan. My plan actually talks about this population significantly because as a teacher, we all know who this child is. We all know, if I could went to their classrooms, if I go to the principal's classrooms today and ask them, who are the children that need the most amount of resources, the most amount of services, and they can tell me right off their back, without going to the grade book or anything. So we know who these kids are. And in some cases, we actually know what they need. We need to provide services for the kids that we have, not the kids we used to have, not the kids we want to have. So school has not changed much in the last 100 years, but kids have changed significantly in the last 100 years, and especially with the prevalence of technology and things like that. And really, I just want to say a breakdown of the societal fabric in somewhat. So societal norms have really changed from when I went to school to now. So what do we do with these children? We have to identify them. We have to provide them with the services that they need. If it's housing, if it's taking a nap, literally taking a nap. If it is food, if it is clothes, if it is counseling, family counseling, and things like that, there are services out there for this right now today. We just have to bring them into school and get the people working with the kids. And as to doing this is what I do every single day. As I stated, the children at my school have been they've been thrown out, I will say that, of most of these schools, and some of them come in Oklahoma City Public Schools. And we have children that come in right now who need a nap at 9 o'clock in the morning. So what do? We have two cohorts. Some kids we work with in the morning, some kids we work with in the afternoon. We provide them the ability to go to sleep. It's not a 5-year-old's responsibility if they didn't go to bed last night. Of course, I have a conversation with the parent, but I cannot penalize them. But once I get them to sleep, I can actually get 2, 3, 4 hours of education within in the afternoon, which has made a significant difference. And many of them most of them, all of them are reading, writing, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing now.
Thank you, candidate. And if you need us to restate the question, we can. So let's go ahead.
I think I know it, but go ahead and restate it. Am I?
Okay, no. We're going to candidate 1. So I just wanted to say for the record, if you guys forgot the question and you want us to restate it, that's totally fine. But next we're going to go to candidate 1 before we go to 2. So candidate 1.
The challenges our kids are facing are unprecedented, and a lot of the ones that are struggling due to factors outside the school's purview, hunger and gun violence and lots of things. What do you do to help those kids that are falling behind?
Okay, well, this is one of the things I like to talk about the most, so thank you for the question. One of the first things we did was Embrace OKC. Embrace OKC began as a partnership between the United Way, the city, our district, our foundation, and the State Department of Mental Health. We did a off-year Oklahoma needs assessment of 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders, and we had results of what their highest needs were, what most likely they were experiencing, whether it was attempting suicide, thinking about suicide, had drugs, had drunk alcohol, were violent, were getting into fights. And then the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health brought in evidence-based practices back into pre-K, so because we can't necessarily stop what's the risk factors that our kids are facing outside of school, but we can teach them protective factors, and that's what the evidence-based programs do in Embrace OKC, and that is exactly why it is now a model for the state. That's just one thing. Innovative transformational schools. We started with MOK, Thelma Parks, and Britton as those schools. We have now expanded to FD Moon and Douglas, and multiple other schools, elementary schools specifically. What that is it brought in wraparound services. So we came in, we brought in people to work with the parents to help educate why it was important to do things at home with kids. We brought in social workers so they could get connected to resources. We gave incentives for those highly qualified teachers to be in our hardest schools. And the list goes on those particular things, and that has made the difference. That is why MOK is no longer a state on the F list at the state. More things, Coat a Kid, through the foundation, we give away thousands and thousands of coats every year to kids so they're not cold when they're waiting at the bus stop. Backpacks for foods, every kid has access to a backpack for food every single weekend, extra food on long weekends and long breaks. We also, during the pandemic, sent out buses to neighborhood parks with food. We provided food during that time when the schools were closed down. Handle with care. We're talking about gun violence or just violence in general. If a child is involved in some type of incident at night and the police are involved, they text somebody in our district that says handle with care. We don't know exactly what happened, but we know that child had a rough night. So we handle them with care the next day to provide them with what they need. Wow, there's so many things we do to work with these kids. I'm just trying to go through the list in my head. But ultimately, we are very intentional of where we spend our resources and how we get kids ready to access their learning brain. Because if they're in fight or flight, if they're in the back part of their brain, their hind brain, they're not going to be able to hear what the highly qualified teachers are doing. So it is our job to make sure that they have their food. We're 100% free and reduced too. Every child, no matter where they go to school, they can get breakfast and lunch every single day for free. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Okay, candidate number 2, 3 minutes starts now.
Would you repeat the question?
Yes, our children are facing unprecedented challenges, especially in certain areas where they're impacted by hunger, gun violence, substance abuse, a number of things that are outside the school. What do you do to make sure those kids are not left behind? How do you keep up with them?
Thank you for that question. Okay, here's what I did when I was a teacher. The very first year I taught, I was still going to college. I was finishing up a correspondence course, i.e. an online course. This was before we had computers. So I had not finished college yet. And I went, and I'm from Lawton, and they had an opening in a special education class. And my mother was a teacher in Lawton, and she said, do you want to take this job? And I went, sure I do. Okay, so I go in, it's after spring break. I'm the 3rd teacher that those kids had that year. I had 14 students, IQs between 50 and 70, educable, mentally handicapped. Not only were they had low IQs, they were emotionally disturbed, they had social problems, you name it. Oh, autism. I had an autistic child. That was before they ever invented autism. I mean, when I went to college, we didn't talk about autistic, but they do now. I had an autistic child when I was my first teaching job. Okay, so here's the key. I was the 3rd teacher that these children had that year. I had never taught in a classroom before. I go in a classroom with 14 students with IQs between 50 and 70, emotionally disturbed, autistic, and so what you do, you can either sink or you can swim. So I learned really fast how to swim. I learned about behavior modification. Behavior modification is basically you reward positive behavior and you ignore negative behavior. I became really good at behavior modification. Once I understood how to do this, and I understood how to make the rules. If students make their own rules, they're more likely to follow them. So we had a really sophisticated procedure. But the bottom line is the Oklahoma City Public Schools, the last I counted, I think they had like 38 different languages in the Oklahoma City Public Schools. There's a lot of diversity in the Oklahoma City Public Schools, and that's our strength. So we need to teach these students, we need to teach the culture of greatness, the culture of how to be a good student, how to be a good school. My students in my special ed class were the best in school, and they proved it every time they walked down the hall. Everybody's going to be watching you walk down the hall. How does the best class in the school walk down the hall? You teach culture. You teach culture, the culture of greatness. And when I'm the superintendent's assistant chairman of the Oklahoma City Public Schools, we will have a culture of greatness.
All right. Thank you, candidate. We'll start with candidate number 1. I want to understand your philosophy when it comes to education. What are your thoughts when it comes to school choice or public charter schools?
Another great question. I think all parents make choices for their kids every single day from the moment they wake up until they go to bed. and school choice is real. We plan to be first choice, but we have to do the work to become first choice. We currently sponsor several charter schools that are in our buildings. We work closely with them. Superintendent Polk has visited every one of them since she took the helm on July 1. We partner with them. We exchange best practices. So ultimately, I think people are going to put their kid where it fits their child the best. I have kids. It worked for me to keep them in Oklahoma City Public Schools. I have a best friend that her child goes to a Montessori school. That's her choice. And we're never going to take that away from families. But ultimately, OKCPS wants to be the first choice.
Okay, thank you. Candidate number 2, what are your thoughts and opinions on the school choice as far as public charters as well?
All right, when we first started charter schools, there was a big debate about are we going to have charter schools or are we not going to have charter schools? Well, being also from the business world, you understand schools are. And that's why the population of Oklahoma City public schools have declined over the last few years, over 1,600. We're losing students in the Oklahoma City public schools every year. We've lost about 1,600 over the past few years. Where are they going? They're going to charter schools. They're going to choose what school is best for their students. And so I'm definitely charter schools.
Okay, thank you.
And school choice.
Okay, appreciate you. Now, I just want to let you guys know we probably have maybe another less than 10 minutes left, so we'll just kind of see after the last response in the next question before their closing statement. So if you do have a question you want to ask, just want to let you know you may want to raise your hand so Lana can at least see where you are so we can squeeze it in before their closing statement. So candidate number 3, you can respond to that.
Yes, so I am an advocate of anything that improves academic achievement for students. So if that means that we have charter schools, if that means we have charter schools or different type of schools, I'm okay with that. I believe that, let me collect my thoughts. I believe that when we improve the schools, then kids will come back. Parents are going to come back. We only have all of these gimmicky things, and I'm not saying that because a good friend of mine is running a charter school and it's going to be great, but let me be clear. When we improve Oklahoma City Public Schools and become the district of choice, people are going to come back. The EPIC has become one of the largest charter schools, largest school districts in this state. Why are they the largest school district in this state? Is because we have not increased academic achievements in the school buildings in their neighborhood. I want to make sure that people can go to school in their neighborhood. And the one problem I have with application schools is almost like we're picking winners and losers. We are saying you can go to this school and you can get a good education, but over here we're okay with this school having an 89% or 80% below basic, which is below basic is the lowest level that you can actually attain on the state test. And so I would ask even and while my son does not go to Oklahoma City Public Schools, my other children went to Oklahoma City Public Schools. I've had deep roots in Oklahoma City Public Schools. And so we have chose something different for my son being the youngest, but I think we all make these hard choices, and I would ask everybody, why is it the kids that you know that are in charter schools, why are they not going to the neighborhood school? What is it about the neighborhood school that is in their neighborhood that they've deemed that is not where they want to send their child to? So I want everybody to think about that. So when we start talking about whether or not people should go to charter schools and whether or not we should have charter schools, ask the people who are saying that, why is it that your kid does not go to the neighborhood school? Why is it your kid does not go to Taft? Why is it your kid does not go to Webster? You know why? Because Webster has an 89% below basic. That means almost every student in the building is failing. So I just want to say that. So whatever we need to do to improve educational outcomes as quickly as possible, then I think that's what we should do for now. But I would tell you, under me, we are going to improve academic achievements in the schools in your neighborhood. So if you want your child to be able to walk down the street, if you want your parents not to have to drive all the way to Deer Creek, all the way to Norman to go watch T-ball and things like that, to watch games, then we need to be talking about improving the schools in our neighborhoods. And so when we do that, we will not have a problem of losing enrollment. We will not have a problem of people actually moving out of the city and things like that. People will be coming back to Oklahoma City, and that is the reason why I believe you should vote for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Terry, real quick, I had a question for the candidates as well. My question is, State Representative Chris Banning, a Republican out of Bixby, Oklahoma, filed a House Bill 1151, which would require public school districts in Oklahoma to hold their school board elections at the same time as the November general elections every other year. Would you be in favor of this change? And please explain your answer.
Before we start, we have to start with candidate number 2. But before you reply, you have 3 minutes. If you want her to restate the question, that's totally fine. But can I please have the candidates for Oklahoma County Commissioner District 1 please to meet in the lobby? They want you to pull numbers, so if you can meet in the lobby so you can pull numbers so you can go in order of closing. So we'll start with candidate number 2, number 3, and then number 1. And then if we don't have any other questions, after that, we're going to let the candidates, we got a hand over here. And I'll check on time. If we don't have enough time, we'll let them do their closing statement. So we'll let candidate number 2 respond. You have 3 minutes.
And is the question about school board elections?
Ms. Lana, can you restate that question?
School board elections. School board elections. Okay, do I think that we should change the school board elections to correspond with the other elections in the state? Absolutely, I do. I definitely think that if we did, we would have more participation and more people would get out to vote. And so, yes, I'm for changing the school board elections to correspond with the other elections in the state or the city.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Candidate number 3.
So while I agree that we're not getting enough people out for the school board elections, and we can have a conversation about that, and I really want people to be really, really engaged about public education. I really do. I wish this room was filled today with people that are concerned about public education. So I would like the elections to be moved, but I'm also, now that I'm a candidate, moving those elections would mean that only very wealthy people would be able to run. So right now, having them right now, I've actually been able to run with less. And so while my opponents and things like that have a lot more resources, I've been able to really put myself out there for a little bit less. So while I think the theory behind it, we also have to think about unintended consequences in that. When we put the school board elections, ad times will be high, advertisement will be high. We'll have a lot of people talking about national elections and not as many people talking about local elections, because local elections are the most important elections that we have. So the elections that we have coming up this next month will be, you will touch these are the people you will touch every single day. County Commissioner, Ward 7, School Board, that is something you see every single day. So this gives us the opportunity to get out and get in front of you and not have to be very, very wealthy, which is what is wrong in somewhat with the national system. So while I do like for people to be more engaged, I want to tell people to think about those consequences.
Okay, thank you. Candidate number 1.
I agree with quite a bit of what Nia said there, because it does, it would overshadow and would make grassroots elections a lot harder to get candidates through that. But the number one reason I disagree wholeheartedly with moving them to the general election is education is a nonpartisan concept, and it should always be nonpartisan. When we run these, that's why the council runs like this, the council race too, because this is for the whole city. This is for the whole district. If we move that to November, we all know that it's going to become partisan, period. That's why I disagree with it.
Okay, thank you. I think we have a question from the audience. So
I do. Actually, there are 2, just real quick,
okay,
if we have time. The first question she wanted me to ask for, so as of right now, in comparison to 8 years ago, where are we as a district on a grading scale from A to F?
I'm gonna go to Janice. I lost count. Are we starting with number 3 now or number 1?
I think it's
number 3. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. Okay. Number 3. Candidate number 3. Did you understand the question?
Yes, I definitely
Okay.
understand.
We'll let you respond.
Okay, so right now, currently, we're an F-rated district and an F-rated state. So I really want people to really let that, I really want people to hold, like, understand that. So in the 49th state, in the country, we're one of the bottom school districts in the 49th state. So, and over the last 8 years, you know, we had Dr. McDaniel. That is my only reserve, is that we had Sean McDaniel, and Dr. McDaniel had actually we had actually seen some lift. So under Dr. McDaniel's, that's the reason we have Kevin Jones at Douglas. That's the reason we have the principals at MLK in the programs. And so now that Dr. McDaniel's has left the district, then I am concerned about that. So I'm hoping that Dr. Polk can keep that momentum and things like that, because forces that are outside of just regular, normal, everyday is the reason why Dr. McDaniels is not here. And so I want everybody to know that we've had a change in the last year, and so we'll have to see if we can keep that momentum.
Okay. All right. Candidate number 1.
Yes. We are not an F district. We do have some F schools, but we are not an F district. We also have B schools and C schools, and we do have some D schools. When you look at them, though, the majority of the reason of our schools that aren't A's or B's or C's or D's and are F's is chronic absenteeism. We have partnered with the Justice Circle. They have given us a grant to target our hardest high school kids, of getting them to school, and we're meeting with them. We're providing incentives. We're asking them why you don't go to school. But chronic absenteeism is one of the #1 reasons that our letter grade is not good. The other thing is that everybody in this room has heard that what State Report Card does a really good job of is measuring poverty. We are 92% impoverished in this district. Half of that, we believe, is in extreme poverty. So the State Report Card, while it is useful, it is not how we measure growth or achievement. So you can't just say we're an F district, because we're not an F district. We've made progress on that. Dr. McDaniel did lay a solid foundation. I was on the board before Dr. McDaniel. I hired Dr. McDaniel. Dr. Polk has been in the district for 5.5 years. She is the reason that most of our elementary schools, she was at the helm of our elementary schools, moved off of that. We are making progress. We're not an F district. We do have some F schools. We have work to do. It is one of the reasons that I want to stay in the seat, is to continue the work and to continue the momentum.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate number 2.
Would you repeat the question?
That was the question from her.
Talking to the mic, Lana.
So the question is, she was asking is, of course, in comparison to now as opposed to 8 years ago, she wants to know where we are grade-wise on a scale from A to F.
Oklahoma City Public Schools is still at the bottom of the schools in the state of Oklahoma. And so when you say we used to be an F school, but we're not an F school anymore, you can't compare last year's scores to this year's scores, because they have changed the cut score. So comparing last year to this year is not fair. So yes, we are. We're a failing school district. We might not have an F in every school, but we're a failing school district. Speaking of Douglas that we talked about the other day, right now, you talked about Douglas High School. In 2021, 0 students passed the high school math test, 0. In 2022, 6% passed. In 2023, 2%. We're not going up, we're going down, or we're stagnating. We cannot keep doing what we've always done and expect to have different outcomes. It's not going to happen. We're going to have to change. We're going to have to do something different.
Okay, thank you. I think we could, do we have another question in the audience? Okay, we're going to go ahead and go back to the audience.
Okay, so what are you ladies going to present to the district as far as standard, as far as responsibility, accountability? I'm talking of the students, and respect. I am a district employee, and there is no respect for the transportation department. We're first to touch the children before and after school. Teachers are always getting a raise. The superintendent was just in the paper last week, said, oh, they got another raise. Support staff gets no raise. They let electricians off, they let the lawn crew off, and they let some other staff off. What are you guys going to do for us? We have to take tests. We have to get certificates. We have state license. The teachers aren't the only. Most of us are educated, and we have the same degrees they have. Why can't we get on the same echelon as them? Equity and inclusion. I think that's what they call it.
Okay. We're going to start with candidate number 1 and let her respond. So, and I recognize your voice, too. You call the station every morning. I recognize your voice. So, I'm sorry. That's a plug for the show. I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay, yes. Candidate number 1, 3 minutes starts.
There's no doubt that our bus drivers, majority of our staff that's not teachers, are not being paid adequately. We have given raises. It comes down to negotiations with unions. Everybody has a different union that we negotiate with. But ultimately, that is not the board chair's role or the board's job. The district, Dr. Polk does that. Dr. Polk has been working with transportation. She had a meeting with them a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, discussed that one of our board members is very adamant that we get our bus drivers up higher. Believe it or not, they are one of the higher paid in the metro area, but it's not enough money for what they do. The respect piece, we heard that loud and clear in the listening sessions, that they want our kids to be more respectful, want them to know professional skills. Sometimes you'd call that soft skills, how to walk into a room, how to interact with each other. We are working on that with culture. It's not going to be something that changes overnight, and that's a tough one. We move about 9,000 kids a day on our buses. We have 33,000 kids in the district. While I'm on that, we're not a declining district. We actually have gone up. We've ticked up. We were at our lowest point right past the pandemic, and now we have grown. We're going upwards in the right direction, so that's exciting. But the point of it is, we know that we have to do better. Part of that comes down to funding from the state level. Education funding is very complicated. It has lots of different funds that you're allowed to do. So our general fund is what we pay teachers out, what we pay bus drivers out, what we pay electricians out, lawn. All of that comes out of the general fund. When we can make moves in that is when we can pass the largest bond in state history in 2022, because that takes the pressure off of it. We can pay for HVACs and repairs out of the bond money, and that relieves the general fund. Nutrition pays out of the nutrition fund. Like, everything has a place that it has to come out of, and that is Dr. Polk and her team, her CFO's responsibility. But we are adamantly working to increase and improve the respect and the equity across this district, because it takes every one of us to get these kids to school, get them educated, and make them believe that they are capable. So thank you for working in our district, ma'am. I appreciate that. Thank you for that, what you do. And I'm confident that Dr. Polk is working on this. I know she had a meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidate number 1. Candidate number 2, you want to reply?
Okay. Anybody that's ever been in a classroom teacher knows, and I used to teach my student teachers this. If you really want to get something done, you got to make friends with the secretary and the janitor. Everybody knows that the secretary and the janitor are the most important people in the school. So yes, they deserve respect. They have my respect. They have my student teachers' respect. We know who can get things done in the school. And I want to also commend Dr. Polk for her efforts to work on this. I want to also commend Dr. Polk. And I want to also give a little story about Dr. Polk. When Dr. Polk was the principal in Lawton Elementary School, Cleveland, she got the statewide award for the most improved school. Cleveland Elementary School in Lawton, she was the principal, was the most improved in the state. Guess who her facilitator was? Guess who taught her how to improve Cleveland? That would be me. Dr. Polk and I worked closely together with those kids at Cleveland, and she used my plan, she used my curriculum, she used my procedures, and she knows how to turn around schools because she's done it. And together we can work as a team, and we can turn this school around. And if I had to choose any superintendent to work for in the state of Oklahoma, I would choose Dr. Jamie Polk.
All right, thank you. Candidate number 2, candidate number 3, you want to respond?
Yes, so I understand that the superintendent is the one who actually really works on this on a day-to-day basis, but I will tell you, when I become Oklahoma City Public School Board Chair, I am going to be looking for money and funding from every source possible. So we cannot just keep saying we don't have the money, we don't have the money. We have partners out there. I don't care if it's going to the Loves family and asking them for gas cards, because I think you would love to have some gas cards. If you couldn't get a raise, you would like to have those gas cards. So anything that we can get to actually improve is asking discounts from schools, from stores and things like that. So I am thinking outside of the box. I don't want to just think, well, we just have to worry about the money that's coming in. We have to advocate from the community. If you all want to turn this city around and to turn these schools around, then we're going to have to go and we're going to have to ask them to give a little bit. Because I'll tell you, the state legislature has come to me and said to me, Nia, we've given you all money, you all have not produced the outcomes. We've given you all money, you have not produced the outcomes. So I'm assuming when we go back to them, they're going to probably say that again. But I'll say, one of the reasons I'm running is because the $147 million that we collected for cannabis actually went all to buildings. We let it go as a subsidy to buildings. And I believe that the school staff, I believe that the teachers, I believe that the principals, I believe that the bus drivers, the paras should have gotten a raise with that money. We should have given that money back to the schools the quickest way possible. The fact that Oklahoma City Public Schools, I don't know what our lobbying efforts was on this, and I'm going to tell you, there is some representatives and things like that in the city. You should ask them how they voted on this as well, because a lot of people actually did not vote against this. And I am infuriated by that, because the people wanted that money to go directly back to schools. We did not want it to go into the general fund. And they keep saying, Nia, you don't understand how it works. You have to put the money in the general fund. We can do something different. And we should be advocating for something different. We should be having our lobbyists out at the Capitol day in, day out, because now we're going to have to try to pull some of this money back. And anybody who understands politics, once the money goes to the construction people, they're going to want to continue it to go to the construction people. So I am going to be out there trying to get some of this money back so we can pay the support staff and pay people a living wage.
All right, thank you, candidate. I think what we want to do is, this always happens near the end. Everybody wants to start asking questions, so it's almost time for them to make their closing statements. So let's allow one more question from the audience before their closing statement. So go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, you said that absences was one of the reasons why we are having some of the issues with kids' grades. Absence and truancy is actually against the law, and it's actually kind of a thing of child neglect when your kid is not coming to school. So how is the district trying to fix the absences and the truancy rate and things like that?
And we're going to start with candidate number 2, number 3, and then number 1. So the candidate number 2.
Okay, so the absentee problem, and what is this, the Oklahoma City Public Schools doing to fix the absentee problem? But you're right. It is against the law not to send your student to school. If they're absent 15 days in a row, then the principal is supposed to call basically the DHS or the district attorney's office, and then they basically send out a letter to the parents. And so when you talk about getting the district attorney involved, I think that's part of the answer, because it is against the law not to send your students to school. So we need to get everybody involved. The powers that be need to give us a little help here.
Yes.
Is that it? All right.
Yes.
Candidate number 3.
Yes, so absenteeism is a huge problem, and I don't want to seem like I am just harping on this, but I want people to understand that our state report cards and our academic achievement, even in the schools, I really would like you all to go out, come to my booth out there and actually pick up one where you actually see the actual grades and things like that for some of these schools, because in most cases, even when they say we're not an F, we're actually a D now, we've actually, in academic outcomes, we are still in F in most of these schools. I just looked on my phone to look at Martin Luther King, which the staff at Martin Luther King is good. I know a lot of teachers that work there, so this is not any offense to them, but the academic achievement for Martin Luther King is still a D. So while they have moved up in other areas, while some of the schools are moving up in their letter grade, they're not necessarily moving up because of academic achievement. They're moving up because of other factors. So I want to make sure we understand that. As to chronic absenteeism, Chronic absenteeism is an issue. I mean, this is a problem that's going to probably require some significant. When we were in Houston, we actually went to the households of the families, and we actually met with the parents and things like that. We actually sent resource officers to pick the kids up. I mean, we're going to have to think outside of the box, because I had a student yesterday who called me and said, Ms. Nia, my mom will not bring me to school. So I actually sent him to work and things like that, but he wanted to come to school. So I think that's the other side of it, is we have to want to make it to where the kids do not want to miss school. And I will tell you, I have some ideas. You know, I'm all about the alternative ideas. I actually told a principal the other day that if she wanted to solve chronic absenteeism, buy a stack of Roblox cards. Anybody who has kids know that kids will do almost anything for Roblox cards. So we need to put Roblox cards on the table, and everybody who makes it to school at the end of this week can get a Roblox card. So we have to think outside of the box. I know the kids were used to staying at home. Parents were used to staying at home because of COVID and things like that. So they're not coming back to school, but I want to make school really good, that where people want to come. Number one, I want them to feel like they're actually missing something. And then number two, we're going to incentivize the absenteeism. And number three, we might have to send some people to go get them. So we might have to have a service, and there's actually data around this. There's a school district in another state that has an officer or a member of the staff that actually goes and gets the kids when they're not coming to school. So we have to put a plan together to get them there.
Thank you, candidate number 3, and we'll let candidate number 1 respond before the closing statements.
Chronic absenteeism, we are, within the last 3 months, have started a task force with DA Vicky Bahena, because it is against the law, but more importantly, what we know is that when kids are chronically absent from school, they're more likely to end up in front of the DA. And that is the pipeline to prison. And we do not support that. So we are working hard to keep kids from getting a ticket, from interacting with the police in a negative way. That is the whole purpose of the task force with DA Bahena. What that looks like is we brought together community partners. We have the Justice Circle, we have the Arnall Foundation, and they are exactly doing that. Like, how can we incentivize, how can we make it to where kids do want to come to school? How can we talk to parents about how important it is for a kid to go to school? We're even talking to corporations to say, could you please, in your company, tell your employees how important it is to get your kid to school? We need to change the narrative around it. We also need to provide incentives, whether it be scooters or Roblox cards, but we are tracking down that path, but we are not tracking down the path of trying to get the police involved with our kids when they miss school.
All right, thank you. At this time, we're going to go ahead and let our candidates do their closing statements, and they all pulled numbers, and they're actually in the order of closing. And you will have 3 minutes for your closing statements. Candidate number 1.
Okay, we've had a lot of talk about this school report card. There are 6 indicators, key progress indicators, that we are judged on from a state and a national, a state and a federal viewpoint. The one is academic growth. Are your kids growing? Our kids are growing. Are your kids at achievement? We're not achieving. That is some of the things we are struggling at. Some of our kids are, but we're not achieving high enough. English language performance, or English language learners, progress. Are they making progress with our kids who come in that aren't speaking English? How good is our graduation rate? That's one. And then, are they attending post-secondary institutions, whether it be career tech or university? What are they doing post-graduation? So that is really what and chronic absenteeism, that is what the state report card judges on us. I don't know that we've talked about the vision of OKCPS, and I want to say it out loud because what we do is we start every meeting with this vision. Our vision is by providing equitable access to a world-class education, every OKCPS student will graduate ready to fulfill their unique potential. We believe in knowing a child by name and need and giving them what they need so they can have access to it, so that they can fulfill their unique purpose in a healthy and vibrant community. We only exist to educate kids, and we are hyper-focused on each kid right now. Few misconceptions. We have 71 languages spoken in our district at any given time, which is, if you think about that, that's pretty crazy because we have 58 schools, so we have more languages than we have schools. Webster is in the feeder pattern of Spencer. We have a $250,000 grant that is going in, so we are putting wraparound services, increased services into the Spencer pattern so we can address whether from pre-K all the way through the senior year, to make that pattern more equitable and more accessible for kids there, because every kid deserves a high-quality education. The board chair role. The board members, we have very specific policies. We are the it's the B policies. If you go to okcps.org and you look at policies that are B1 through 10, it'll tell you that we establish district policies. We approve the general scope of curriculum offerings, but we do not choose the curriculum. We just approve it once it's brought to us. We represent and interpret the attitude of the community on education matters. That's why we have our listening sessions. That's why we had that survey that was opened most recently to hear from our community, our stakeholders. The board chair specifically prepares the agenda with the superintendent and only speaks for the board once the board speaks. One of our policies says that no one board member should attempt to have authority over the district. We only speak as a board. We have 8 members unless 5 say it. If the action, whether it's negative or positive, that's the only time the board speaks. An individual board member has no specific power other than listening to their community and sharing that information back with the superintendent. Please vote for me on February 11th. We've got a lot more work to do because we need to be first choice.
Thank you, candidate number 1. Candidate number 2, your closing statements.
I would like to thank the Black Chronicle again for hosting this important conversation. And I would like to thank the audience, the parents, the concerned citizens that are here tonight, because they're the ones that can make the difference. They're the ones that can make the change. You can have visions all you want to. You can talk about problems all you want to. But unless you have a solution, or unless you have someone that knows how to solve the problem, like I do, visions are just, if you don't have actions, visions are just an illusion. So when I'm the chairman of the Oklahoma City Public Schools, we will have a plan. We will not just have a plan. We will have a prototype. We will have data to break it up. I know how to improve Oklahoma City Public Schools, but it's also very disappointing when you have a solution and you have an answer. And for many years, everybody's been complaining about low performances and low proficiency rates. And when you have a plan and you have the solution, and the leaders, the city leaders, endorse the same failed policies, the same failed visions, it's very frustrating. But the other day when I was at the city chamber meeting, all 4 legislators talked about education and how we needed better outcomes. And then we endorsed the same thing that we've done for year after year after year. So if you think that we're going to change the Oklahoma City Public Schools because we're changing the policy or we have a vision, it's not going to happen. And you know it's not going to happen. You have to have a solution, and you have to have a prototype on how to solve the problem. It's very disappointing to me to think that I have to get up here and talk you into solving the problems. But the solution is you. You don't have to settle for failure. You don't have to settle for mediocrity. You have the power in your vote to change it. You have the power to make Oklahoma City Public Schools some of the best schools in the nation, because we've done it. I've done it. I can do that for the Oklahoma City Public Schools. So let's make a bold choice for our kids, our schools, and our community. Together, we can change the schools and have really good results for our students. The students are our future. Thank you for your support. Thank you for coming, and vote for Jan Barrick on November the 11th, and you will have some of the best schools in the state of Oklahoma. I guarantee it. February the 11th, what did I say?
Yeah.
November, not February the 11th.
Thank you, candidate. Thank you for your participation also. Okay, candidate number 3, your closing statement.
Yes, so there's a lot of new faces in here. There's many new faces in here. I'm a teacher. I have to use the right words. And so there are many new faces in here. So I want to say I am Nia Spriggs, and I'm running to be your next Oklahoma City Public School Board Chair. So the incumbent has spoke about it, so I'm just going to address it. So I do understand that people have called me, numerous people, not just from Oklahoma City Public School Board, but other boards as well, to tell me that I do not understand the role of the board chair. I understand the role of the board chair very well. I understand that I will only be one of many. I understand that I will not rule over the district, and I understand that I will work with the members of the board to actually turn the district around. So I want to make sure that we are clear. I understand that very well. So in that, we have to work together to actually bring them around, to actually, and I say bring them around, that's a negative word, but I have to work with them and actually encourage them. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to bring the voice of the people. If the people say that we want to increase academic achievement, then I'm going to bring that back to the board and say, this is what the people would like to do. If the people say that we want to do something different, then I'm going to bring that back to the board as well, because this is a seat. The superintendent is not elected. The board members are elected. They elect us to do what you all want to do, not even what I want to do. While I think that we should do one thing, if you all tell me we need to do something else, I am going to listen to that. I want to hear from you. I want to, we talked about it last night, we want to actually put a parent and a voter's a hotline so they can actually call into the school and let the school board know what they want to do and if there's something going on. So therefore, we can keep our ear to what is going on, because a lot of times we're becoming very reactive instead of becoming proactive. So this is what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about a vision of something different. We do not have to keep doing the status quo. We do not have to keep going down the same path. I spoke with somebody the other night, and she spoke to some other people, and she said, you know what? The person who is there has had a chance, and we need to give somebody else a chance, because we are not seeing the improvement that we need to see in OKCPS. So that is the reason I am coming to you today to ask you to think about something different. I'm actually to really think about not have to normalizing moving out of the city. I'm actually to really think about raising your kids in OKCPS and being able to send them to the school in your neighborhood. I'm actually thinking about a world that will be different, so we are raising better schools, be better communities. We need to raise the children that we need to actually educate the kids so that way they'll be great employees. So that is what I'm asking you. I'm asking you to think about something different. I know we have normalized that this is what we do, but there can be something different. And so I ask you today, my motto is be the change that you are seeking, and I am that change. On February the 11th, vote Nia Spriggs, your new Oklahoma City Public School Board Chair.
Thank you. Candidates 1, 2, and 3. Ladies and gentlemen, give them all a round of applause, please. Thank you very much. I guess I can say at this time, you ladies are dismissed. And at this time, I think the superintendent for Metro Tech is coming up to make an announcement. And if you're missing a cell phone, you may want to come and talk to me. I don't have it. I know who has it. But if you're missing a cell phone, please don't rush me. Or if you don't have a cell phone, you want one. I'm not that guy. So, but if you're missing a cell phone, come and talk to me, because we did find a cell phone.
Actually, just want to say hi real quick. Again, thank you so much for being here at Metro Tech. It's so important to be able to hear voices and then opportunity to be able to vote on February 11th. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Also want to thank Perry Broadcasting for being here and for hosting this. Also want to introduce one of our board members are here tonight. If you'd please stand, Mr. Jess Eddy is here, board member of Metro Tech. Thank you so much, sir, for your service to our community and to our board. And just again, we would not be here this evening if it wasn't for you, for our community, saying yes to the bond that created this beautiful campus renovation, one of those being here in the auditorium. So Metro Tech quality career training, over 30,000 enrollments last year, 1,500 full-time students. When you think about economic workforce development, we want to be the first thought on your mind for that at Metro Tech. So thank you so much for being here tonight, and again to Perry Broadcasting, and what a great opportunity to be able to learn more about what's going on in our community, and thank you for your interest in our community. Have a great evening.
And I also want to just make mention real quick, of course, you know, we are going to the polls on February the 11th, but we're also voting tonight. So also, if you can, there's going to be a QR code. Of course, it just went off the screen when I would say that. But when it pulls back up, if you can scan that, you can vote for who you would like to see in these particular offices. You can do that. And then also, if you would like to post a question, I can read it off my phone, just in the event that you don't feel comfortable standing up in the back and asking your questions. So make sure you do that. But as of right now, let's see where we are on the polls. Connie, can you pull that up for us? Okay, there we go. That's what we're looking like right now. And then also for those that are listening over the air, thank you so much for listening. And then also you can go to blackchronicle.com. You can also post your questions there, and you can also vote there as well. That is blackchronicle.com.
No one lost a cell phone. It's totally fine. It will be refurbished. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm only joking. Okay, I guess, can we have the candidates come up for Oklahoma County Commissioner District 1, please, and sit behind your name tags. And then I'll start with the rules, and then we'll do our opening statements. Hey, once again, I just want to mention this to everybody that's here. Of course, this is being broadcast live on the radio, and it's being streamed on PPBC TV, PPCB TV, YouTube as well. So if you have a question, I really don't want it to bottleneck at the end where everybody wants to start asking questions at the end. So if you have a question, please just raise your hand, and I don't know, maybe you can step to the back or whatever if you're uncomfortable standing up where you are or whatever, and Lana will come to you. So I don't want myself, Lana, and Janice to have to ask all the questions. We will, but I want you to have the opportunity so you can actually ask questions and get input and things like that. So I'll give the rest of the candidates an opportunity to come to the stage.
Yeah. As always.
Oh, ain't nothing wrong with us. Good, how are you?
We don't need them, we just teachers.
Turn that over.
Thank you for the water.
You're like me. I got to get everything together. Okay. All right, we'll just go over the House rules again, just in case people are just coming in. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Terry Mundy, of course, from the Open Mic Talk Show. Heart and Soul 92.1, 11 to 40. I always got to plug the show. Monday through Friday, because some folks may be here that they, first time here or whatever. So Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and I'm one of the co-hosts on the show. And I'll let the other moderator, Ms. Janice, introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Janice Francis Smith. I'm the managing editor of the Black Chronicle.
All right.
All right, and I am Lana West. I'm the other half of the Open Mic Talk Show. And also, just out of curiosity, how many people are actually listening and tuning into the Open Mic Talk Show? Raise your hands. Whoa, okay.
Okay.
There we go. I like that.
Okay, that's cool. Once again, just want to explain the rules. What I will do is, of course, allow the candidates. I'm just going to refer to you as candidate 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in all fairness, I talk with Janice and Lana. They may refer to you by name. That's totally fine or whatever, because some of you I do know, some of you I don't, so I want it to be fair or whatever. We're going to start at the far end, of course, my right, their left. When we do start, of course, with the opening statements. And then to let our audience know that's listening as well as watching in the studio, the candidates did pull names in the lobby in closing order. So we'll do that when we get to the closing. Once again, I want to emphasize, if you're watching online or social media, you're listening, please post your questions or raise your hand, because we want input from you. That's very important. So at this time, I will give a 3-minute time limit. So I guess I will start off with the introduction. We want to know who you are before you talk about your platform specifically. I know last time, they said who they are, and then they mentioned about 30,000 things or whatever, but just introduce yourself like you're meeting a person for the first time, and I'm sorry that I'm regulating that. So you'll have up to 3 minutes, and if you don't go that total 3 minutes, it's totally fine. No one's going to be offended or whatever. So candidate number 1, please start.
Do we have a timekeeper or a timer somewhere?
Yes.
Okay, where's that at?
It'll let you know when you get to about 30
Oh,
seconds
okay,
out.
beautiful. Well, good evening, beautiful people. My name is Sarah Banna. I am a Midwest City Council person. I began my work as a community organizer in the early 2000s, and I run a grassroots, community-based civil and human rights advocacy where I assist individuals that have been systematically failed by career politicians and corrupted government institutions, to be quite frank. I'm also the co-founder of the Ending Violence Everywhere Coalition, a citizens coalition aimed at reducing the rate and culture of violence here in the state of Oklahoma. I am the vice chair of the Police and Community Trust Initiative, a body that assisted in implementing the body cameras across many police agencies across our state, as well as reforming the escalation training and policies, as well as emotional intelligence training. For the past 7 years, as a matter of fact, 15 years ago, I started entering the Oklahoma County Detention Center, assisting juveniles that were being illegally housed there. I was one of the first advocates to demand the removal of those children who were being kept in that dungeon of death, the unconstitutional facility that we call a county jail. As a result of that work, approximately 7 years ago, when the jail trust took over the operations management and financial oversight of the county jail, I began attending the Board of County Commissioners meetings on a regular basis, as well as attending the jail trust meetings. 54 individuals have unnecessarily perished there, and as a civil and human rights advocate, I believe it is our duty to be there, to be spokesperson, and be the best public interest advocates that we can be. So public interest work, civil and human rights work is what I do. Government anti-corruption work is what I do. As I stated earlier, I'm also a Midwest City Council person. I'm a first-generation American. I moved to this country when I was approximately 10 years old. English is my second language. I also am a new mother to a little 7-month-old little boy, and that's been absolutely a privilege. So.
Thank you, candidate. Okay. Candidate number 2.
Good evening. My name is Jed Green. I'm a candidate for County Commissioner District 1. First, I would like to thank our hosts for putting on this event. It takes a lot of work, and it's imperative to our society that our press support democracy and folks coming together. I thank all of you who are interested in this process and who participate in any way that you do. Again, my name is Jed Green. I am someone who is a father. I have 2 amazing daughters. I am someone who spent the first 15 years of their professional career as a general contractor doing all trades, hands-on. When I was in my early 30s, after having built all over the state, I decided that digging ditches and pouring concrete just wasn't dirty enough for me. So I got into politics. Fast forward. Where I began my efforts were at Oklahoma City Community College. I started working with student organizations, and initially we raised money for body armor for our troops in Iraq by having bake sales. This carried on. Over the last 17 years, I've worked as a political consultant, as a advocate at our state capitol, and those travels have taken me a long way. Early on in my career, I did a lot of work with the Democratic side of the aisle. As my career moved forward, I found that focusing on issues, identifying particular projects and problems, and working with both sides of the aisle to fix those issues is something that I was fairly capable of doing. And so as we moved along, in 2018, I was actually the director of the Yes on 788 campaign, which created our medical marijuana program here in this state. Since that time, I've continued to work with state leaders, with lawmakers, agency heads, and am still actively doing so today in order as the director of a group, Oklahomans for Responsible Cannabis Action. We're the leading advocates for consumer safety, for freedom, and to help continue to work to develop our program here in the state. So it's been a very, very interesting road, and that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, candidate number 2. And just want to remind the audience as well as our viewers that if you're just now tuning in or just now coming into the auditorium, they have 3 minutes and they will put the remaining time. But just in case they don't, and you come up to the end of your 3 minutes, I will say thank you, candidate, and you can finish your statement. So, candidate number 3.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jason Lowe. Good evening. How are you? My name is Jason Lowe. I am State Representative for House District 97. Before I begin my remarks, I'd like to thank Perry Broadcasting for hosting this event this evening. I am State Representative, and for you all that are not aware, you are in House District 97, the best district in the state of Oklahoma, so welcome. I am also a practicing attorney. I've been practicing law for over 20 years here in Oklahoma City. I serve on the House Judiciary Committee as well. I am the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, and that committee deals with laws across the state of Oklahoma. So I believe it's the most powerful committee in the state. Thank you for being here, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to express my viewpoints tonight.
Thank you, sir. And when we get to the question portion, we're going to start with candidate number 2, then 3, 4, and then end with 1. So we're going to just keep rotating it. So candidate number 3, you start to introduce yourself. Oh, 4, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm reclaiming my time.
Okay. Okay. I went blank for a second. Okay. Candidate number 4, your introduction.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I am so honored to be a candidate for County Commissioner District 1. I am Anastasia Pittman, and I am the former state representative and former state senator. I'm also the Democratic nominee for lieutenant governor. I have dedicated my life to public service. But I am a former classroom teacher. I am a former mental health professional, and currently I serve on general counsel for my tribe, which is Seminole. So I am the finance committee member, and we do all sorts of things. So I'm happy to be here, but I want you to know, I'm going to share a story with you. Most of you know that I've been in Oklahoma almost my entire life. The first 2 years of my life, I was in foster care. Most of you know that my grandparents raised me. My native grandmother brought me to Oklahoma. I have experienced people who fall through the cracks, people who don't have resources, children who don't have resources, and I've dedicated my life to being a part of those solutions and not letting my environment dictate who I am or who I become. So it is my honor today to be before you once again to ask you for your votes on Tuesday, February 11th. Vote Anastasia Pittman, vote for the name you know and the service you trust. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd like to start off with the questions. I do know it's 4. I just wasn't looking up. So anyway, yeah, you're 4. I know. I'm going to start with candidate number 2. Why do you feel you're the most qualified individual for this position? Why do you feel like you're the most qualified person for this position compared to everyone up here?
I can't sit here and say that I'm the most qualified person for this position. I believe that each of the 4 candidates on this stage all bring useful abilities, resources, and traits. I think we all bring something unique to the table. What I also believe is that regardless of the outcome of this race, that it will behoove all of us as citizens of District 1 to work together to bring our strengths together. A good manager will first tell you that the first thing that you do is you identify the strengths and weaknesses in the folks around you. Who are you working with? And then you work to put the puzzle together. I see that we've got candidates with a wide degree of experience. My specific experience here that is pertinent is that over the last 20 years, I've helped a lot of communities, I've helped a lot of political leaders work through problems that are similar to what we have here in Oklahoma County. I've helped folks put together and bring together communities so that we all win in the end. There is a lot going on here, and what I see in District 1 is that despite the problems we face, that we have everything that we need. What is important and what I bring to this race is the ability to step back, identify those resources, and work with everyone to help put those puzzle pieces together. And professionally, what I have done, leading grassroots efforts that have reshaped the face of our state, and then followed up to make sure that the voice of the people was respected and heard. This is what I'm looking to do here in District 1, and that's what I will bring to the table, elected or unelected.
Thank you. All right, candidate number 3.
Thank you. Well, that's an interesting question in the sense that I had no inkling whatsoever to run for this seat. And I know that the county commissioner's position deals with infrastructure, it deals with the economy and so forth. But the main issue for me, and it's been my life's work, is criminal justice reform. And I see the county jail. That's a main issue for me personally. It seems like it's a place where people actually go to die. I have personally seen the bed bugs. I have seen the lack of mental health care. I have experienced the lack of heat. As a criminal defense attorney, I was at the Oklahoma County Jail today. I've seen it. And I want to share a quick story where I represented a 19-year-old young lady, UCO student, never been in trouble a day in her life. She was arrested with this amount of marijuana. She was arrested on a Friday evening. She was released, but before she was arrested on a Friday evening, she posted bond Friday night. But she was released on Thursday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning, released from custody. She not only lost her job, she was away from her school. She was away from her family. At this present time, there's no visitation at the Oklahoma County Jail. I say to you all, that is unacceptable. And that's why I am running for this position, and why I believe I am the most qualified person for this position. I know the law. I serve on the Judiciary Committee. I've been on every floor of the Oklahoma County Jail. I know how to get the job done. So that's why I believe I'm the most qualified. Nothing against the other candidates that are running, good people. I'm not here to be negative tonight. But I do believe I am the man for the job. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidate number 3. Same question. Why do you feel like you're the most qualified individual? Oh, gosh. Guys, I'm a public school graduate, so give me some love, okay? I did go to Langston. and I kind of tightened up my skills. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, say that for the talk show, not here. Come on, straighten up. Straighten up. Candidate number 4.
Now, you know I'm reclaiming my time, right?
Right. Hold on a second. It hasn't even started. Okay. Why do you feel you're the most qualified individual for this position? Candidate number 4.
Thank you.
Okay,
I appreciate the opportunity. Folks, let's just be real here. I want to tell you about my experience. Not only was I a state representative, not only was I a state senator, I've spent 12 years of my life writing policy from birth to death. But I leveraged state dollars. I leveraged the millions of dollars that we brought into the state so that we could publicly fund what we needed. But I also do that currently in my tribe. On my tribal council, I serve as one of 3 finance committee members. And so the infrastructure that I have led through policy, the municipal money that we brought in through CARES and COVID funding, people, we want results. People in this community and in this district, we have other responsibilities, we have other needs other than just the jail. The jail is an issue, it is. And yes, it's inhumane. And yes, we need to build a new one. I agree. But at the end of the day, we need infrastructure, we need housing, we need health care, access to mental health. I've been a mental health service provider. Not only that, during the legislature, when you talk about what committees you served on, I served on transportation, I leveraged Title VI funding for roads and bridges. I was the chair of health care. So I understand the wait list, I understand the needs, I understand women. I understand women who have incarcerated children. I understand women who are survivors of domestic violence. We put families back together with DHS. We rewrote the code for children so they could be protected because families were being torn apart. I'm running to restore families, to rebuild our communities because I've done it. And I want you to see it. And hopefully throughout tonight, you will see not only that I have a plan, I have a vision, but I also have infrastructure because we're gonna need it. And this is my business plan for the infrastructure that we built for the First Americans Fan Museum, just adjacent to Douglas High School. And the reason why it's there is because we need Avalon tax dollars to support it. Flick's Brew House, Chicken Pickle, the new housing development that's coming, that's my legislation. That's dirt moving. That's tangible things. I've served on a national housing committee. So if we're gonna address homelessness before we begin to address the 2028 opportunity for us to have these Olympics here, then we can do that. Most of you know that my church.
Thank you, candidate.
Thank you. You said I could finish my statement though.
You can finish.
Okay, most of you know that my church, Cootie Central Urban Development, we have built 3 housing projects in Oklahoma County. I look forward to talking to you more.
Thank you. I think that was a second sentence too. So, but thank you. Anyway, I'm going to say thank you. And I found out why I said third. I'm trying to keep the rotation right. So no, I gotta let you know this. First, second, third. So that's why I had third, and I said third. So I apologize for that. Okay, we're going to go to candidate number 1 to respond. Why are you the most qualified individual for this position?
So unlike my 3 opponents, I am the only candidate up here who has actively been invested and engaged at the county government level. It's not because I'm running for office that I decided to talk about the county jail, but rather I have invested, I would argue, nearly 15 years of my life endeavoring into that unconstitutional county jail. And I'd like to push back a little bit, Representative Lowe. I too have been on every floor of the county jail.
Me too.
As recently as just this past year. However, unlike you, when I came across the atrocities and the inhumanity and the unconstitutionality that I saw, I assisted those individuals being killed and marginalized in that facility by filing health department reports. I picked up my pen and my keypad and started reporting to the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, which is actively investigating the county jail. I sent in packets this big of the cases that we had come across. And the county jail is not a place where people actually are going to die. It's a place where people have died at an alarming rate. 54 individuals have perished in that unconstitutional jail since 2020 alone. Mass majority of those deaths were preventable. The county jail has not passed a single health department inspection since 2019, and I did not see either one of my powerful opponents speak up when these atrocities were happening. I'm the most qualified, aside from the county jail, which is not a political issue for me. It's a civil and human rights issue for me. It's a constitutional issue for me. It's an issue that has sucked out nearly 15 years of my life. I've lost sleep over it. I have psychological trauma as a result of it. I'm the most qualified candidate because I'm the only candidate before you this evening that has actual local government experience. Unlike two of my opponents, I've not spent my time at the legislature, but I've been a local community advocate. I'm a municipal council member. I'm the only one who can actually sit before you and honestly tell you that I have built roads and bridges. I'm the only candidate that has overseen and implemented community development projects, including bringing two major companies into the northeast side of Oklahoma, Midwest City, Centralium Protein and American Glass, creating over 400 jobs, good-paying jobs for every level of laborer that we may have in our communities. I'm the only candidate that has built parks in our community. Mid-America Park in Midwest City, north side of town, again, spending millions of dollars to revitalize a park so our children can have adequate basketball courts, adequate playgrounds that they can be successful at. Furthermore, I'm the only candidate because of... Sorry, thank you.
Okay. And you can finish your statement once I say thank you, so I don't want to distract you, but just finish your statement when I say thank you, because the time is up on the screen, so please make sure that when you are talking to look up at the screen. So before Ms. Janice asks her question, we will start with candidate number 3 being first. If you do have a question in the audience, I want to emphasize this, please raise your hand so Lana West can find you and she can come to you or whatever. I don't want it to bottleneck near the end when they start their closing statements. So, Ms. Janice?
Yes. The stakes are high at the county level. There's a lot of money. The jail is obviously a big issue, but there's also a lot of money coming through the county for infrastructure, for health care, and there is a very passionate electorate in District 1, it's the hot seat. However, historically, not just recently, but for a while, District 1 finds itself on the losing end of a 2-to-1 vote. What is your either skill set or plan to break that logjam and affect your constituency's needs?
Thank you, great question. First of all, as an attorney that practices law in the state of Oklahoma, throughout the state of Oklahoma, I deal with judges, I deal with different party affiliations, and I have to work deals. I deal with prosecutors. I deal with legislators. I have the experience. I bring people together. And that's what I plan on doing in this position. I plan on bringing judges together. I plan on bringing legislators together. I plan on bringing the public together to make sure everyone knows exactly what is going on. As far as infrastructure, that it definitely is a major issue in our district. I talked to a young man, a younger man and his dad, and he indicated to me, and he lived in Spencer, he indicated to me that his roads have not been paved in 40 years. Come on, what are we doing here? We have to bring people together and know exactly what is going on throughout our community. When they were trying to build a jail in Northeast Oklahoma City, who threw a forum here? I did, with Senator Nikki Nice. It was a packed house. We marched from Coltrane all the way to the county courthouse because they wanted to build a jail in Northeast Oklahoma City. They wanted to build a jail in Forest Park. They wanted to build a jail in Spencer. They wanted to build a jail on Northeast 50th Street. And guess what? I fought against it, and there's no jail built in Northeast Oklahoma City. And I don't want a jail built in Del City as well. And that's what I do. I organize. I educate and I communicate with my constituency. And that's what I want to do as your next county commissioner.
All right, thank you. Candidate number 4.
Thank you. The question was, what are you gonna do to stop the log jam? Is that correct? Y'all, let's be real. Now, I want to tell you the truth, and it may not feel good to you, but there are currently 2 white male Republicans on the commission. Now, do you really think that adding an African-American male who's a Democrat is going to stop the log jam? That's not what's going to happen. I'm telling you, I'm qualified to do this. I've done it for 12 years in the state legislature. I've done it for the last 4 years in my tribe, and tribal politics is deep too. And it's also infrastructure and municipal. I have been in the jail. I've been on every floor, but I don't taunt that. What I did was I pulled the community together. I worked with Pastor Sherelle, who was the chaplain. I worked with some other pastors, and I brought people in so other people could see it. Because what you don't see, people will tell you what you don't know won't hurt you. Yes, it will. I've been a mental health professional, so I've dealt with people with trauma, people who've been abused. And a personal story, is that what you want? I got up out of my bed at 10 o'clock at night for a gentleman who was arrested at 1:30 in the day. He needed heart medicine, but only his mother knew that he was on medication. So when the shift changed at 3 o'clock and the nurses changed, they didn't even know he was there. So at midnight, when I showed up at the jail and they said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "You already have my fingerprints. I'm coming to deliver some medicine so that this gentleman won't die." So when you're talking about negotiating, when you're talking about getting bills done, you go check the record. You go look at 2018 and you figure out how teachers got a pay raise. It was our legislation. We did balls and dice. You figure out how we did a $90 million project in Northeast Oklahoma City that's now a multi-million-dollar project. When you drive by O'Connor, I'm bringing jobs to our city. I'm bringing jobs to Northeast Oklahoma City so that our kids, when they graduate, they don't have to go across town to get a job. I'm bringing jobs across the street, across 235 from North Highland that didn't have an upgraded library. So we partnered with the Thunder and made sure there was a reading room up to par. Because if you can't read, you can't graduate. And sick children can't learn and sick people can't earn. So what we're doing now is building bridges, giving access to mental health, and building houses, because the infrastructure's coming. And the jail is not the only problem we have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, candidate number 4. Candidate number 1, you want to respond?
So as far as what's happening in District 1 has been systemic environmental injustice. They take our money, they build the nice things in the other districts, and what they don't want, they force and dump into our communities. This is why when the con job of the Fix the Jail campaign came out, again, because I'd been actively engaged and doing active research on what the proposals were, I opposed the $260 million jail bond. As a matter of fact, I was hosting and mobilizing taxpayers so I could inform them of the fraud that our county commissioners were getting ready to commit. They told us they needed $260 million to build us a larger jail, when in 2021, the jail that they were proposing was going to cost $700 million or more. Now that we've given them the money, they've been honest and being more truthful and explaining to us that they need more money, and now they're looking at increasing, adding a first-time ever county sales tax or increasing county properties. So my opponent, Mr. Lowe, didn't actively endorse a yes vote on the jail bond, recognizing and realizing what the county commissioners were proposing was a larger jail. Folks in District 1 know we are the targeted communities to be pipelined into that larger jail. You build it larger and they will fill it, targeting some of the most marginalized community members in District 1 and across our county, people with mental illnesses, Black and brown people in this county. That's been our story. It's not the rich folks that they're rounding up and pipelining into that facility. It's folks like us. What we needed was a smaller jail, a jail that we as a community had control over. and not rich folk who are making backroom deals with great conflicts of interest, forcing a larger billion-dollar jail in our community. And as Representative Lowe stated, I was opposed to the jail being built in the Northeast community. And while you were hosting forums and intentionally excluded those who've been actively engaged at the county government building to host a forum, I returned to that county government building to also oppose it being redirected to the Del City community, but I did not see you there.
Thank you, candidate. Once again, if you have a question, please raise your hand so Lana can find you, and we'll go to you next. So we have a couple questions over here, so we'll let our next candidate respond. Candidate number 2, you have, oh, and if another question come up, you'll still have 3 minutes if you want to respond to that question and maybe respond to a comment or whatever that was made. So, but right now, candidate number 2.
Could you repeat the question, please?
What's your plan or skill set to break through that log jam of the 2-to-1 that keeps getting District 1 shut out?
Okay, so this is what I'm here for, guys. This is what I'm here for. Okay, so first of all, let's, okay, I've got 2 minutes. Let's break this down as quickly as I can. Number one, let's talk about experience here, and I do want to admit that a lot of what I do, I talk softly and I carry a big stick. So here's an example of a situation like this I've seen before. In early 2012, up in Muskogee, Oklahoma, we had a minority of the population that was outvoting the majority of the population for all of their city council seats because it was at-large voting, not ward voting. In one night, we managed to replace half the city council, changed over to ward voting. The result of this was that the minority communities in that town, still to this day, are now the vice mayor and hold sway up there. The effect of that was that 2 years later, we were able to pass bonds not only for the folks that had interest in the VA and the Foreign Legion up there, or the American Legion, but also we built a new MLK Center up there. When I went up there, the MLK Center was falling down. You could see the street through the walls. 2 years later, we had a $2 million new MLK Center, which helped with a lot of killings and things like that are going on in Muskogee. Same situation here in Oklahoma County. Here's the situation, guys. Number one, we don't have the money to build what's on the slate right now. What I want to do is, here's my plan. I'm getting to the root, not the fruit of the problem. Representative Lowe has mentioned a couple of times this young lady who was, and thank you for defending her on the minor marijuana possession charge. Number one thing I can tell you is I have worked and written and helped pass the law that she should only be guilty of a misdemeanor and no jail time subject to a $400 fine. Whoever that was, whoever that arresting agency was that arrested her for something that amounts to a $400 fine, they need to get their mind right. I don't want to see anyone checked into the Oklahoma County Jail that's coming out on a $400 fine. We need to find out what the root is. Are we jacking up the number of beds we need because we're arresting and putting people in on some BS? Okay, there you go. Now let's talk about what the plan is, because this is how I roll. Okay, I want to talk to everyone, and that's what I'm doing right now. Is I'm listening, I'm learning, and we'll save the rest for later.
Thank you, candidate.
Oh, but there's more. Oh, believe me, there's more.
I know it seems awkward, but just finish your statement. It's totally fine. Okay, the next question is going to come from the audience, and we're going to start with candidate number 4. Okay.
Hello. This is one of my first time hearing the county commissioners forum, but I have been listening to you all for, 30 minutes now, 40 minutes. Can y'all tell us what is the job description of the county commissioner? So we would know exactly what we're looking for in voting for you.
Thank you for that question. I'm so honored to respond to that, because everything we've been talking about, most often county commissioners cannot do. Okay, so county commissioners are overseers of roads and bridges, So people who tell you they built roads and bridges, you gotta have the budget, you gotta understand the planning. The county commissioner oversees the planning, the engineering, the budget. They sit on boards, county boards, they own county buildings. Matter of fact, county commissioners can actually represent legal cases against them. They can speak on behalf of that. County commissioners can also, they are first responders before the first responders get there. If there are trees and stuff in the roads, snow, they can move that stuff out of the way just so firefighters and first responders can get there. There are also those who clean up after a massive disaster. But in the county role, they do have, and if those of you who are legislators should know that the role of the county commissioner is in statute. It's the Oklahoma statute of Title 19. So folks who need to read more about what a county commissioner can do, you can research it. But county commissioners build roads and bridges, but they also partner with cities and towns. Cities have to pay for the materials. The county commissioners have the mechanics to put it down. So at the end of the day, county commissioners not just do roads and bridges, they also bring in grants. They can facilitate infrastructure and new things into your communities, like Spencer, where I'm from. 73084 should not be less than in a county just because that's where you live. So county commissioners can not only build a jail, they don't give oversight to the jail. That's what the jail trust does, and the jail trust needs oversight. They can vote on expanding diversion programs so that we can get people from who are non-violent offenders, non-violent detainees, to be able to get their access to mental health care. They don't always have to be Constitution talking about the jail. Because quite frankly, I'm gonna be honest with you again, you need a person that knows what they're doing on the county government, because county, they've already decided where the jail's gonna be. So we can have a 30-minute conversation about how bad the jail is, where it should be located. That jail's gonna be located in its state right now in Dale City, because the infrastructure to leaving the jail where it is, although we may have already wanted it to stay where it is, it's gonna be 5 times more for the cost to drill down 50 feet to get to rock. In Dale City, it's only gonna take 10 feet to get to rock, and it's already vacant. So even though Dale City may be offended by it, Dale City's gonna benefit from the tax base that comes from it.
I'm going to give you,
We'll go to candidate number 1. Your time starts now.
I'm going to give you a very clear, non-political answer. What your county government does, 80% of what your county government does is comparable and compatible with what your municipal government does. The county government and commissioners supervise and manage all the real estate county properties, including the county courthouse, the administrative building of the county jail, as well as the juvenile justice center. They advertise the bids that are going up for contract, and then they also award those bids. They approve all the claims that are coming before them from all the different divisions and departments, for example, the engineering office, the finance office, so they approve all the expenditures of those offices. They also call all of the county election bonds that are coming up, and they're, right now as we speak, scheming on bringing a bond before you to ask you for a countywide sales tax to build that jail that Senator is talking about that they cannot afford to build. They also designate, construct, and maintain and repair all of the county highways and roads, particularly the unincorporated areas fall under their jurisdiction. They used to also oversee the Department of Social Services, which all counties across the state had to operate until State Representative Lowe and his colleagues at the legislature this last session voted to eliminate the requirement of counties to do that, and therefore eliminated some of the most critical social services such as mental health care, housing services, and pharmaceutical services for some of the most marginalized members of our county. They also pass all of the zoning applications and regulations of the County Planning Commission, again, very similar to your municipal government. conduct proceedings and set dates for elections when it comes to incorporating towns and new municipalities, audit all of the accounts of our county government, and we are currently unable to finish a county audit of our budgets from 2023 because they haven't been managing and keeping our financial records in a way that it can be studied. So we need to keep our eye out to see how our money has been wasted over the past 2 years. And they also appoint a member of the county, to the county excise board and also the board of equalization. I do want to push back on something that the senator said in regards to the jail and the jail trust. The jail trust, the county commissioners actually had financial oversight of that jail until they negligently decided to hand it over to 9 of their cronies who were unqualified to oversee it. So that's what happened, and we should be taking that jail back so our elected officials can be held accountable for the mortality rate and the unconstitutionality of that facility.
I'm for the
Thank you, candidate. Before we go to candidate number 2, I want to emphasize the QR code, so when they put it back up. Please scan the QR code. It'll be your opportunity if you like what you hear. We're kind of doing an informal poll or whatever, and at the end of all the debates, you'll be able to see, as far as the people here as well as online, you know, your opinions and where they landed. So, candidate number 2.
Okay, so I think that the first 2 candidates did a wonderful job of describing what the job of the county commissioner is, and what I would like to say is that one positive that I've seen is that it looks like the staff that takes care of a lot of the functionary items here seem to be doing a good job. And so I would wrap back around real quick to the last, which would be, okay, so what do I see the role of county commissioner being? What I see the role of county commissioner being, in addition to the basic functionary duties, is bringing people together and looking to resolve issues, like the issue that we have with the jail. I'm not on the ballot until April 1st. After the Democratic primary is over, where I'm still deciding who I'm going to vote for in that primary, because independents can do that, then I'm going to roll out, but I want to give you a general concept of what I'm thinking about the direction. Number 1, I want to review what we're doing as a county. I want to look for efficiencies. I want to look where we're being inefficient, be it processing times, be it how various programs are going. I want to take a look at what the actual need for space is in the jail. We are at a point of a reckoning, folks. And so I want to work with all of us, as I have in many other cases, to bring groups together and get this sorted out. District 1 is not getting punked, okay? One thing that we have seen is we may be a 2-to-1, that may be the vote that we're going in on, but you folks have a lot more power than that. And I'm here to empower you. And I'm here to make sure that what we get is a fair deal. One thing I haven't really heard talked about yet, and I don't know if maybe this is in the works, but we know we don't have the money. It's got to come from somewhere. Well, with what we do in Oklahoma County, being a hub for corrections efforts across the state, where's the state? Why is it on us to support this entire project? One thing I promise you I will do is I will go ask the state for money. I'm not the only one here that is capable of doing that. I have a certain relationship with some of these folks, even folks that are in the supermajority, that they might tend to take me pretty damn seriously about this, especially when it's common sense. But number 1, Oklahoma County taxpayers are not bearing the burden for this whole deal. I want to know what the state's going to do, and we have the ability to make a stand and say, okay, guess what? We're not doing this all ourselves. We need to have a reckoning. There's a lot of people that have put a lot of work into this. We need to very, very quickly, and it's what I'll be doing for my campaign, is literally putting this together. We're going to put a proposal together, and it's going to make sure that not only are we dealing with the jail, but as I've heard said, and we've seen, politics is the business of who gets what, when, where, why, and how. And there are a lot of things from roads, bridges, infrastructure, social services, a number of things that need to be addressed here. And if we're going to address this, if we're about to drop 250, 300 million, matching state funds, whatever we get worked out, then what I want to make sure is I want to make sure that all of the folks who were hopeful that they might get some dollars, get some dollars. We need to do more with this bond vote than just a jail.
Thank you, candidate. Put a bunch of commas and no periods in there. I'm gonna do a headlock the next time.
I'm ready for it.
Okay, no. I got my church sweater on, no.
It's nothing but love.
Okay, I think after this, we're going to, after our last candidate, we're going to go into the closing statements before we bring up the next candidate. So, candidate number 3, can you respond, please?
Yes, thank you. No headlocks. I think the candidates described the duties of the county commissioners very well, so I pretty much agree with everything they said. But I'm going to push back a little bit on the comments of Senator Pittman when she said that they decided where the jail is going to be built. They decided that the jail was going to be built in Northeast Oklahoma City. It didn't happen. Okay? We protest, we pushed back, and we made sure it did not happen. And that's why I believe we need an attorney in this position, because I can file lawsuits. I can direct the county commissioners to file a lawsuit. I have sued Governor Stitt twice, not once, twice. So I know exactly what the law is. And when I am county commissioner, or if I'm elected to be county commissioner, I plan to bring 3 things to the table: the law, the facts, and the evidence. And that's what I'm going to bring. As a state legislator, you know, we talked about what your record is. As chair of the Oklahoma Legislative Black Caucus, I was able to lead the caucus. As former chair of the Oklahoma Legislative Black Caucus, I was able to lead the caucus to raise $130,000 for Langston University. I passed a bill with the help of Senator Kevin Matthews that deals with de-escalation training in the state of Oklahoma. So let me tell you about this bill that I passed. This bill requires law enforcement to receive de-escalation training when dealing with individuals in a mental health crisis. Why I pushed that bill? Because I'm sure some of you are aware of the Flower Man. That's what I call him. When he was shot by police officers, and those officers did not receive the de-escalation training they need. So that's what we did. We passed that bill out of the House, out of the Senate, and was signed by the governor, a Democrat. So when you say this is not going to happen, or they decided. No, they have not decided. We're going to push back, we're going to fight, we're going to organize, and we're going to get things done for our community. And that's what I want to do as your next county commissioner. And that's what I've done in my entire career. Thank you.
Thank you. No, we will not have any response because we have to go to our closing statements. But no, in all fairness, if you want to add something in your closing statement, the floor is yours. And once again, I will say thank you, candidate, and please make it the last sentence with a period. No commas, please. All right, first up, we're going to start with candidate number 2, and then candidate number 1 is going to be second. So candidate number 1, number 2, your closing statement.
I'm Jed Green. I'm a candidate for Oklahoma County District Commissioner, District 1. And as I really appreciate everyone who's come out and shown up on this. I look forward to continuing this conversation in the future. There's a lot going on. We've got solutions to these problems. You know, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take folks coming together, and I think that we'll get there together. So I yield the rest of my time.
All right, thank you. Let me stop the clock. And the next candidates for Ward 7, can you please meet in the lobby so you can draw your numbers, please? So you can go pick your closing order. So you will have 3 minutes, and I'm going to candidate number 1, and your 3 minutes starts now for your closing statements.
So I have, since the concept of building a larger billion-dollar jail was proposed, I've been in opposition to it because I do not believe that we need to reinforce the concept of mass incarceration at cost to our lives and to our tax dollars for the next 40 to 60 years. Currently, what the county commissioners are suggesting is a regressive sales tax, basically building this future county jail on the backs of the poor working class. And once we build it, the intent is to target and prey upon our communities to fill that facility. I am with State Representative Lowe that I don't believe that this is a done deal. I do believe that this county can fight and redirect, as a matter of fact, stop the construction of a larger billion-dollar jail on our backs. I think the future of this county needs to focus on prevention, preventative mental health care, drug and alcohol treatment facilities, housing first options, and adequate prevention policies focused on addressing poverty. These preventative care services need to be adequately and equitably built across our county. The fact that the eastern parts of Oklahoma County, Middale, Jones, Spencer, Nakoma Park, don't have a single community-based mental health care, drug and alcohol treatment facility is a problem. They systematically fail us up front with the intent on capitalizing on our bodies and our freedoms. And we have got to intervene. And so what I will propose to you all, the next fight, is mobilizing the voters to vote no on the proposition to increase a county sales tax and fight tooth and nail when they suggest the idea of increasing our property taxes. So we've got to mobilize, we've got to be the best advocates that we can for our communities, and what we need to focus on is radically reducing the county jail's population, which would have happened if State Representative Lowe voted yes to end cash bail on nonviolent indigent offenders and was one of the only urban Democrats to vote in opposition, and that legislation failed by a handful of votes. Radically reducing the county jail's population down to 800. The population currently is at 1,500. We can reduce it by removing all the nonviolent offenders who are being exploited and preyed upon by a machinery that is profiteering off of our lives and freedoms, and that is what we need to be focused on.
Thank you.
Vote Vanna. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate number 4, your closing statement.
Thank you all. Listen, I'm from Oklahoma County. I'm not from outside. I live here. I've spent my life's work doing it right here, not only in Senate District 48, which is encompassed of 97 and 99. I have done the work, and I want you to understand there's more work to be done. So mark my words tonight. If you think that the deadline has not passed and the money has already not been spent, it has. So you can come back and tell me later when we're cutting that ribbon, because that jail is coming. You got people moving into our state from other states. They're in halfway houses. They need mental health services. I've been to the jail. I've seen it, but I do the work. And I'm telling you, right now, I've seen more women incarcerated in the state of Oklahoma. Go back and check the data. We've always been number one. Number one in women, number 4 in men, women incarcerated, women with children, women dealing with mental health issues. Do you really think that putting Jed Green on the county commission is going to help us? You better look around. Look at the population in which he serves. He's a great friend, but we've been all talking about policy up here. We have not been talking about what the county commission can do. And they are limited, and they are required by statute to build a jail. So when you have an increase in population over the last 10 years, you're going to have an increase in crime rate. So we can focus on what the county commission can do. Folks, we've got people with property taxes whose property is eroding, and they're paying the same amount of property tax with less property. Where's the solution? I got a plan. I have the solution. I'm willing to work with these gentlemen across the board, because I'm going to bring something back to the table. And when I tell you this, I'm waiting for the economic infrastructure. If you're going to build houses, you better have the water to support those houses. You got to have water to support that infrastructure. So when 2028 comes for the Boathouse District and softball, we've got to do something with our homeless population. We can't just sweep them under the bridge. We're going to have to build houses. We got to have entertainment. And it's coming to Oklahoma. Let's put Oklahoma on a world-class stage. When you leave this country, people know where Oklahoma is because they know the thunder. But what are we going to do when the Olympics leaves? We still got to have a tax base. Oklahoma County is the only county out of 77 counties that does not have their own revenue. So a sales tax is coming. You may not like it.
Thank you, candidate.
Vote Anastasia Pittman,
All right.
February 11th.
All right, candidate number 3, your closing statement.
Thank you, I appreciate it. First of all, thank you for hosting this event, Perry Broadcasting. I want to address one of the statements one of the candidates mentioned about bail reform, which obviously she's misinformed. My position on bail reform is there needs to be a mechanism for an individual that commits rape, that a person that commits child molestation, or a police officer who shoots a black young kid in the back, there needs to be a mechanism for that person to return to court. And that's what I voted for. Lastly, as you see tonight, my name was called throughout this entire debate. The attacks are coming, folks. The powers that be do not want me in this position. They do not want a black attorney in this position. They don't want a man who fights for his constituents in this position. So get ready for the attacks. Get ready for people to make racist statements that I want black people to be incarcerated so I can make money. Get ready for the attacks, the AI photos. Get ready for the nonsense, because it's coming. You got a text this week. It's coming. So get ready. But you know me. You know what I've done for my community. You know what I've done as low law firm family funded. 10 years, we have given school supplies, health screenings. We have supported our community. Before I was even elected. That's what I've done. So get ready, folks. Get ready. And I'm asking you, when you get those attacks, get your friend to vote for me. Get your cousin to vote for me. I need your support. I want to continue to make a difference in my community, the community I love. I'm asking for your vote on February 11th. Early voting is February 6th and 7th. Vote low. Thank you very much, and have a good night.
I'd like to push back on that, though, because Senate Bill 1913, which you voted in opposition to, was for indigent, nonviolent offenders.
That's all. Thank you, candidates. Give all the candidates a round of applause. Thank you. Okay, once again, House rules, just want to mention to everybody that if you do have a question, please raise your hand, because what we're going to do is bottleneck at the end is we're going to take it a little bit longer. So if I could please have all the candidates to exit the stage.
And also remember that you too can vote. We just put, of course, the results in for County Commissioner. If you would like to vote, you can do so by scanning that QR code right there. And then, of course, you know, as we're moving along, of course, you know, the last, of course, panel that we do have is for Ward 7. If you would like to vote there as well, you can do so. Make sure you scan that QR code. For those that are listening, you too can vote. If you can, go to the website, blackchronicle.com, to get your vote in as well as your question. Again, that is blackchronicle.com.
Flashbacks of the times we've had. Some made us laugh, and some made us sad. We used to break up to make up all the fun that came from those old days. Oh, when I think I need someone new, no, it just won't do. Because I think about you, baby, from beginning to end. 365 days of the year, I was the same old love, baby. All I wanna do
us from different lands and shun discrimination against those who don't look like us. And our time for change has come. And understand why we treat each other in this way. Taking our time with the silly game we play. We got our love and no matter how it's Americans know that we have to work harder and study more to compete in the global economy. Americans know that we need to take responsibility for ourselves and our children. We need to spend more time with them, teach them well, and put a book in their hands instead of a video game once in a while. We know this. All right, we can have the candidates come to the stage. Have all the candidates to come to the stage. Start in a couple of minutes here. We've got some more. We could only have it so much of Americans have responded with a simple creed that sums up the spirit of the people. Yes, we can. I got in the middle. And some began to say the threat, or talk about the threat that will out. What would happen to me from some of our white brothers? Well, I don't know what will happen now. We got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now. Because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life, longevity as its place. All right. Everyone, you can take your seats. Got to kind of get my thoughts together here. If you're just now tuning in, of course, the live stream online on the radio, Heart and Soul 92.1, 1140, or PPBC TV, PPBC TV YouTube. We'd like to say thank you for tuning in, of course. This particular round is for Oklahoma City Council for Ward 7. And once again, I'm going to explain the rules. First and foremost, if you have a question, I want to start this off early. We kind of bottleneck near the end where there's more people that want to ask questions. So if you do have a question, I think it's Lana still here. I think she must have taken off. So I'm going to have someone to come and get the mic. Mr. Demetrius. Mr. Demetrius, if you're in the house, I need you to come and get the mic that Lana had. So, Conan, you guys in the back, if you can give Demetrius or either Stephanie the mic. So when we have questions in the back, who, somebody there has it? Okay. Okay, there she go. Cool. Okay. Because I know Lana had to leave, you know. But anyway, once again, we're going to start off. You'll have 3 minutes whenever you do reply to a question, as well as your opening comments. And also, the time will be up, counting down 3 minutes. And I will say thank you, candidate. Not trying to be rude, but you can make your last statement. I know it's kind of awkward. Just finish your last statement. So, and we're going to rotate the order. We'll start with number 1, then the next question start with number 2, and so on. So at this time, we would like for you to give an introduction and introduce yourself to the people that are here and online, as well as listening to the live broadcast. And you will have 3 minutes. You do not have to go the entire 3 minutes. It's just up to you. So candidate number 1, we will start with you. Your introduction time starts now.
Good evening, and thank you. My name is Masood Haq. I am a family man. I'm a man of faith. I'm a businessman, a proven leader in this area, and I'm your candidate for city council. The reason that I'm running is because I love people. I love people, and the most marginalized, the most disenfranchised have always had my heart. Youth, young people, the seniors, and homeless people especially, they just tug at my heartstrings. And I was the first candidate to announce way back on April 4th because I understood that I had a gap to make up in name and face recognition. But since that time, I've had the honor of speaking with many of you on your porches, in your living rooms, in your places of business. You've seen me out in the streets working, and you've seen me rolling my sleeves up and helping other people. I especially want to thank my family for being here tonight. It's a school night. We've got my wife, my beautiful wife, Dr. Jihan, right here. She and I own Peace of Mind Pediatrics. Her sister, Dr. Bashira. My children, Ahmed, Sufyan, and Maisa. That's what I'm about. From that perch, from owning Peace of Mind Pediatrics and listening to over 6,000 families for the last 10 years, we're able to see what Oklahomans are really facing. We're able to see real live issues before the stats come out, before the news comes. And we've been able to try to connect resources to those needs for over 10 years. Through my positions, I sit on various boards, including the Oklahoma City Black Chamber of Commerce, CARE Oklahoma, the Northeast 23rd Street Steering Committee. I am able to also work with factions across the country, and across the city, that try to connect resource to need. And what I'm asking you to do today is to ask yourself, what do you see as being the most important component of a city councilor? Because trivial matters and understanding the tools of the job is one thing, but it's another thing to actually be able to get things done. If you ask around about me, if you look at my social media, if you go to my website, you'll see that I'm a man of service. You'll see that I'm a man of action. And I'm not just going to sit here and tell you what I might be able to do, or what I plan to do, or what I'm going to do, or what I'm finna do. Just look at what I'm doing with the small circle that's around me, the smart individuals that come around me. And then I ask you to imagine what that would look like with your full support, with the support of the ward, with the support of the city council.
In holding that position, I put myself into the candidacy because I went to a couple of meetings that we were not represented in our community. This brought me to a halt of saying that my leadership is well. I went forward and began to run the race and said, look, we need to be informed, we need to be equipped for what is getting ready to happen. So that is why I came forth. I've been in 27 years of the ministry, so if I sound a little preachy, I'm not going to apologize, because what's inside of you is going to come out. So I am a very, very, very dedicated and loyal community activist and worker and advocate. I am very proud to say that I have gone to the trenches. I have put my boots and my pearls on to do the work, to make sure that things are being done and not overlooked.
Thank you, candidate. Okay, candidate number 3, introduction.
Well, good evening, and I want to start by thanking Perry Publishing and Broadcasting, and I also want to thank my friends on stage for this conversation we're going to have today. And of course, I have to start by introducing my family, starting with my beautiful wife, Tori, who is the president of the Oklahoma State American Federation of Teachers. And also I want to introduce my sister, Kaya Pennington, our niece, Violet Gray Cook. And I would be more than happy to introduce you to my parents, Carl and Cheryl, but I guess they must have another son that plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder, because they said something about they had tickets to the Thunder game and needed to see SGA, so they assure me they're watching. So we'll hold them to that, everyone. But I am so excited to be here because I'm a fourth generation Ward 7 resident. And I am so fortunate because this community rooted me in a great education that was focused on our history and our values. I'm a proud Northeast Viking. And that great education took me to Oklahoma City University, where I was fortunate enough to receive a full-ride Clara Looper scholarship focused on public service. That led me to the University of Oklahoma College of Law, where I received my Juris Doctorate, and through law school I knew I can't go work at a big firm. I got to find a way to serve this community, to be of use to people who need it. And so today, I work at It's My Community Initiative, and I serve as the executive director. And it is my job every single day to fulfill our mission of strengthening this community by building strong, healthy families. And the way we do that first is with our True Dads program. Many of you have probably heard of True Dads because it works with so many dads in our community and a co-parent, helping them become better parents, partners, and providers, helping to unite our families. And we also run an after-school program at Douglas and Star Spencer and John Marshall, again, focused on healthy relationships, on self-esteem, to build up the next generation to be stronger than the last. So our campaign is focused on building together because our community needs to be focused on how we can create a better future. And for me, building together really starts at building a safe neighborhood for every part of this ward. Every person, no matter how much money you make, should be able to be assured that you are safe and that you have a great mutually respectful relationship with the police. We deserve to have great roads and sidewalks where you feel like you can walk your kids to school, a public transit system where you know you can rely on it to get to work on time. We ought to have all the investment that's going on in downtown Oklahoma City for MAPS should be impacting and improving incomes in our community right here in Ward 7. And so we are going to build Ward 7 together, and I look forward to this conversation today.
Thank you, candidate. I want to emphasize once again with the QR code, when you see it in the back, go ahead and scan it because it'll have all the candidates there, and if you want to go ahead and vote based off of what they've said, as well as the candidates that's up here now. So we'll go to candidate number 4 for your introduction.
All right, thank you. Thank you to Perry Broadcasting and Communications. Thank you to Metro Tech, and thank you, yes, to my friends and also the moderators for today. It was in 1969 when this song was written, "May the work that we've done speak for me." Now, I like to change the words of the song to "Let the work that we've done speak for us." It was in 2013 when the people of Ward 7 elected me as city councilman with 62% of the vote. And it was in 2017 when the people of Ward 7 re-elected me with 81% of the vote. You see, we have a record that speaks for itself. You know, when people talked about Ward 7 being crime infested, when people talked about waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, hearing gunshots, and I was one of them. We were able to bring people together to decrease crime in Ward 7 by 20%. Let the work that we've done together speak for us. When our community demanded police body cameras, it was this councilman who brought everybody together, including the FOP, the police department, religious leaders, community leaders, together to talk about police body cameras and the need for police body cameras. And it was this councilman who brought together the community September of 2016 to talk about public safety in our community. And in November of 2016, the city signed an agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, and that agreement was for police body cameras. You see, we have a record of getting things done for the people of Ward 7, for the people of Oklahoma City. Let the work that we've done together, let it speak for itself.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes, of course, with the introduction. And if you have a question, please raise your hand. Myself, as well as Janice, will ask questions. But once again, I don't want it to start bottlenecking near the end, and then we have to go ahead and get to the closing or whatever. So if you do have a question, you can go in the back or raise your hand where Lana West is. So I'll start with the, do we have a question in the back, or gentleman leaving? You do have a question? Okay. I'll go ahead and let him pose this question, because I do have one, but I want to get as many people in as possible. And we will start with candidate 2, 3, 4, and then 1.
Good evening. My name is Apollo Woods, and although I'm not a resident of Ward 7, my company has worked really hard to raise the awareness of Black-owned businesses across the metro that have intentionally impacted Ward 7. In 2024, our For the Culture campaign led to the first Black-owned restaurant in Paycom Center, which is Big O's Barbecue. If elected, will you agree to meet with the Bigger Than Food Foundation to implement intentional, equitable procurement practices for historically underrepresented businesses here in Ward 7?
Okay, we'll start with candidate number 2, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Apollo, for that question. Most definitely. I believe that Ward 7, in our community, that we really and truly need to seek the faces that need to be into our community, as well as to train even other entrepreneurs that are coming forth. Because, see, entrepreneurship is so important and so vital to our community. That will allow others to want to succeed. See, it was when I was coming up, I saw other ladies doing things inside of the community that made me want to be a community leader. So when we lead by example, then we're able to go forth and to bring others up as we go forth. Now that will bring our economy up, especially. I love to see Big O's to come to the Northeast side and to be very, very vigilant in bringing other organizations into the Northeast side and able to stay. That is a problem that we've had over the years, is that they're not able to stay. Why? Because the rent is entirely too high. Investments is what we're looking for in Ward 7, and that we need to invest in one another. And as we invest in one another, we will begin to grow and be able to have a stronger voice in Ward 7. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Candidate number 3, you can respond to that as well.
Thank you, Apollo. You do a lot of great work trying to lift up our Black businesses, and it's close to my heart because it's personal. My sister, Kaya, and her friends started Urban Roots. And many of you who know of Urban Roots know that it became a hub not just because it had great food, it became a cultural hub. It became a place where artists, where musicians could come together, where it brought our community together. And that's why we have to continue to support Black businesses in our community. I think, to your point, what we really have to focus on is minority contracting and ensuring that we have the opportunity to get our share of the money that the city is spending. It is so important that we train up people in our community so that they are actually able to get those contracts. And I think that's why the work you're doing is so important. And then we have to provide the infrastructure and the incentives that will enable people to be able to start businesses and end the redlining that has happened in our community. Financing businesses in Northeast Oklahoma City is too difficult. And so it means that we have to pass ordinances that are going to eliminate the ability of people to not get the funding that we deserve to have in our community. And then finally, we've got to make sure that we're building more people, bringing more of our people back to this community and supporting the businesses that we have and really surrounding ourselves with the support that our businesses need. So I appreciate that question.
Okay, thank you. Candidate number 4.
And the answer is yes. I do believe the city of Oklahoma City needs to go further When it comes to minority businesses, I believe that the city of Oklahoma City should do what it did when the first MAPS was done. They had a set-aside program for minority businesses. And so I do believe every city-owned facility, there should be a set-aside for minority businesses and also a community development agreement with the community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Candidate number one.
absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Woods. Just to echo what some of my fellow candidates have said, I mean, we have to thank and salute people like yourself who consistently, drive the message of ownership and successful, well done, well thought out, well planned, well executed Black businesses. So you've been carrying that torch for quite some time, especially in the food industry. So yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer to meet with you and honestly anyone who you would recommend that we meet with, because it's not enough that the city kind of outlines what this job looks like. A good city council person is going to go out and they're going to find the people who have motion. They're going to find the people who have energy. They're going to find the people who have connections, and they're going to make sure that those people are heard. They're going to make sure those people are represented, and they're going to make sure those people have every single resource that they need, whether it is a connection or whether it's an ordinance or something that they can pass. So it goes beyond just what we can do at the Horseshoe. It goes to what can we do to connect you and make sure that you have all the tools at your disposal, that you're making the relationships that you have, and that we can continue to push you forward, and that you can create 10 more Apollos. So absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you. Everyone's standing under the 3-minute mark, and that's totally okay. We're going to go ahead and go to another question in the audience. And when we start answering, we're going to start with candidate number 3 on the response. So your question, please.
Okay. Thank you to all the candidates who have shown up tonight. We all really appreciate you coming and speaking with us. My name is Scott Tatum, and I am a councilman for Ward 4 in Del City, and Ward 7 in Oklahoma City adjoins a very large portion of my ward. There's a lot of work that needs to be done between our communities. Literally, a major portion of Ward 7, the next street over is Del City, okay. As you know, the jail is high on my agenda. And Mr. Pennington, I would like to thank you very much. You're on the Planning Commission, and when I stood before you and pled our case for Del City, you voted no for placing it in Del City. So sincerely, thank you for that. What I would like to know from each of you, if you will commit tonight to work with me in building up that area along the Ward 7, Ward 4 communities in the future. My second question deals with where the jail is going to be located, and it looks like it's definitely going to be located there. It's going to be right across from a portion of Ward 7. It's not in Ward 7, but the 15th Street dividing line is right there, and the north side is Ward 7. Will you commit extra resources in that area, such as police, fire, road, lighting, etc., for that area, because we anticipate there's going to be a lot of activity, a lot of crime. There's going to be people released at all hours of the day and night that Del City is going to have to deal with. They're going to filter off into Midwest City. They're going to filter off into Oklahoma City, the surrounding areas. And part of Ward 7 right there on the north side of 15th is a minority community and low income that simply don't have the resources to install fences or home security systems and things like that. So I'd like to know if you will commit to providing extra resources in that area.
We're starting candidate number 3. Come on.
Well, thank you, Councilman, and appreciate those remarks. And I know it's been a real challenge for your community, and a lot of fear is there. And it's real because we don't want to see things like the county jail be in places where people have the most need. And so it's a significant challenge. So yes to both of your questions, and I'll start with the infrastructure. Our campaign is focused on infrastructure. We've got to make sure that all of our neighborhoods, no matter what your income is, are great places to live. And that means making sure that we have repaired streets, that we have the sidewalks, and make sure that there are the streetlights that people need in order to make it a safe place. I think the economic development question is really important for us. And I don't think it happens without us putting the infrastructure there. But we need to be more focused on how we keep people out of the county jail, not how we put them in. So that starts with making sure that this city continues to support efforts like drug courts, so that people are getting into the treatment and rehabilitation that they need, that we are using diversion programs to keep our youth from even offending. That's why with our after-school program for It's My Community, what we focus on is talking to kids about their rights. We bring in an attorney, they bring in me too, as an attorney also, to talk about respecting their rights and knowing how to interact with police so they can have a safe interaction. All of this is so important. So I know the jail is coming, but we've got to work together to make it as safe as possible, to make it beneficial for both of our communities, and I'm all about how we can collaborate together to build a stronger city.
All right, thank you. Candidate number 4.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your question. Just to give you a little bit of history. So Ward 7, when I was in office, used to go to Southeast 44th Street. Now, because of redistricting, it stops at Southeast 15th. And so when I was councilman, I made sure that the major intersection, Southeast 44th and 29th, was reconstructed, because the people over on the south side deserved streets like everybody else. So what you see now that goes into Dell City, that used to be Ward 7, now is Ward 4, that happened because I pushed, again, for infrastructure to be over there. Because, again, people who live on the south side deserve the same benefits as other parts of our city have. And also, to kind of give you some history, they've been talking about the Southeast 15th location for years. So that location is nothing new. And this is just my view, and I'm just going to say it. Everybody who know me know that I will speak my mind. So that site, but prior to rezoning, was Ward 7. They redistricted Ward 7 for Ward 7 to stop at 15th because they knew our councilwoman was going to fight a jail being built over there. So kind of give you some history of the redistricting piece. You are absolutely right. People on the south side deserve everything that all the other parts of our city have. And I don't agree with that location for the county jail.
Thank you. Candidate number 1.
Thank you. And I was listening to the radio on the way in, and I didn't know who the candidates were, so I'm just going to say candidate number 1, I'm Masood Haq. We do own a pediatric clinic in Dell City. It's right there on the Oklahoma City-Dell City line on Sooner Road and I-40. So we take care of a ton of kids that go to Dell City High School. We've built good relationships with the resource officer or the former resource officer there, Officer Preston, and we've had our ear to the ground for quite some time on what Dell City is facing and struggling with. So, we don't take the part of the things that you brought to light lightly. We don't want to see our patients, become prisoners. We don't want to see them, need those resources. And we want to make sure that all of the surrounding areas are well lit and that they're well patrolled and that they're safe. Because one of the concerns that I consistently heard when I would attend the hearings for it was that, when someone is released and they are a person who has the propensity to commit crime, what's going to happen when they walk through these neighborhoods. So I have established good relationships and good rapport with our Spring Lake Police Department. And, as our ward grows into that section, if there's another police department or if there is just simply extends, then I would certainly be in their ear about the concerns that we have from that part of the ward. So I have a vested interest in the well-being, welfare of Dell City. I've got great relationships with Ms. Brown, who sits on your chamber as well, and I'll continue those relationships and use them to inform me and make sure that those needs are being met.
Okay, thank you. Candidate number 2.
Equity. That is the main goal, that we really and truly need to have equity. Equity in each and every ward, that no ward goes lacking because of who is in that demographics. Equity. It means that we have the sidewalks and we have the lighting that takes place. But before that takes place, we need to deal with the whole man. And when we deal with the whole man, when we send them there, or when they are sent there, excuse me, there are several things that need to be identified. And that is mental health. That is, if they are on drugs, we need to have a facility that will facilitate each and everything that is going on. So with that, I'm asking that we work hand in hand to make sure that communication is always open, that we always have a dialogue to say, hey, what is it that we're looking at? Why do we not have the transportation to pick them up? Why do we not have the actual pivots and the different organizations to come in and to actually organize and take them in so that there will not be a repetitive cycle? See, we have to do the work, and the work starts before they get there. So after all of that, and we are concerned about our neighborhoods, because I'm a neighborhood president of an association. So I understand, and I work hard with our police department at Spring Lake. I don't just every other day. They come every time I ask them. That is the communication that I have with them. That is the rapport that I have with them. I have a great rapport. So the thing is again, we must deal with how they are being funneled out, and so that there will not be a concern. Thank you.
Okay, we appreciate you. Thank you. Any questions in the audience? We do? Okay, let's go back to the audience.
Thank you. I live in an area of Ward 7 that I don't think has been addressed at last week's meeting or this one. Let's think east of I-35, north of Forest Park. It's a very different area. And we're grateful that the Kirkpatrick Foundation has taken that part of Oklahoma City where they're doing the Red Ridge development and trying to bring attention to the Cross Timbers area, the ecosystem that is in this area. But a lot of us live in that area and have our own little touch of the woods and everything. But the thing about it is we have patchwork zoning. We have a timbered area that provides shade, provides a cover for the Garber-Wellington aquifer that provides water for this area, is a wildlife area. I don't know how each of you feel about the zoning issues that are faced in those areas. If you could give us some sort of idea of what your idea of that area developing would be in the future, it would be grateful. I'd be grateful. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with candidate number 4.
Thank you. I definitely believe in preserving the wildlife over in that area. I actually stay in Wildwood, so I see it every single day. Several years ago, and I want to give this example, 50th and Lincoln, you had mentioned the Kirkpatrick Foundation. Several years ago, that land was owned by the Oklahoma Land Commission. And the Oklahoma Land Commission wanted to rezone the land for commercial use. As a matter of fact, they did rezone it for commercial use. The neighborhoods were against it. The type of development that the Land Commission wanted really would have messed up the wildlife area such as you described. I am grateful that the Kirkpatrick Foundation did purchase the 140-something acres on Northeast 50th in Lincoln, because it does preserve the area. Now, I am for economic development. Don't get me wrong, I am for economic development. But I want to make sure that economic development is done with the community, okay? So we have plenty of spaces in that area where development can happen, but without disturbing what you have described.
Okay, thank you. Candidate number 1.
Masood Haq here. I spoke with Ms. Hogan, Gypsy, right, right after the last one, and you brought this to my attention. And this is a perfect opportunity for me to kind of explain to you guys that I'm not trying to position myself as an expert on every single matter that may befall a city council person. The expert in this situation, in this room right now, is Ms. Gypsy. So the first thing that I would do is set up a meeting to go speak with Ms. Gypsy, listen to her, listen to the people who share these concerns, and then I would go and find some of the smart people that I know, use my own research abilities, go talk to the people I know at the city, what can we do about this issue? But what I can promise you is even if I don't know the exact answer right now off the drop of a hat, that I can go find that answer, that I can figure out a plan and a path and a solution to solve that problem. And I am an ambassador, I am a champion. Once I get my hooks in something, it's just something about me that doesn't want to let it go. So I'm a big proponent of 2 ears, 1 mouth. So I'm not going to say something that I don't know, but I certainly will look forward to meeting with you and listening to the situation and figuring out ways to get it done.
All right, thank you. Candidate number 2.
Thank you for that question. I am a farmer, so I understand the conservation that happens. People ask me, how are you a farmer? I tell them I'm a farmer with lashes. That I believe that we do have to have a specific area that is dealing with conservation. Why? Because across the road from where our farm is, our family farm is located, we do have a conservation. So I do know how that goes. One thing that I will say to you, and especially being a president of our neighborhood association, I would collaborate with the entire community and let us discuss what it is that you want. Because see, I know that people that zone will probably zone against you. I'm right in your back door. I am right there. I did my internship at the Kirkpatrick Center. So I truly understand exactly what you're talking about. I am over just a shade bit over where you are. So preserving, I do understand. And we do need to preserve some of that land over there because it is well needed.
Okay, thank you. We'll have our last candidate, number 3.
Well, thank you, Gypsy, for the question. And to your point about the zoning issues, all I can say is I'm going to stand with neighborhoods. And you know that because that's what we've done when they've brought many developments to your area. But I think the bigger question is about how we can respect the character of our neighborhoods while also growing in a responsible way as a community. And I think we also have to think about the environmental impact that we're having right now. I mean, the extreme weather conditions are real. Snow on beaches in America. And so I think we've really got to think about climate resiliency in our policies and in the way that we're working right now in Oklahoma City. So let's talk about a few. Number one that really affects your area, Gypsy, is tree preservation. Did you know that Oklahoma City doesn't have an ordinance that requires developers to preserve trees? We as the Planning Commission can't require it, but they have that in Dallas. There are municipalities in Texas that do it. So there's a model that we can use to really strengthen our tree preservation. Not only that, we should be planting more trees in our cities so that we can lower, the study was done about the heat mapping that's happening. We can lower those temperatures by planting more trees. We also have to deal with these freezing temperatures and really help our residents that can't afford to pay their bills when we've got these really low temperatures and they can't pay their heating bills. So more programs and supports that can help our seniors be able to afford to have the heat that they need. And then finally, we really need to consider burying power lines in Oklahoma City. An ice storm shouldn't take us out. And we know that we're experiencing all kinds of weather disasters in this city, and so it's time for us to really face up to the climate change that's happening in our world and really get us ready to deal with those challenges.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'll let Janice go ahead and pose the next question for the candidates.
I'd like to know what's at the top of your list. What do each of you think is the most pressing need challenging the people of Ward 7, and what is your plan to address it as one of 9 votes on the horseshoe? Who starts?
I lost my rotation. Is it number 4? Number 1? Oh,
I
it's
think
number 1.
It's 1.
Lost my rotation. Number 1, sorry.
So it's hard to just say one thing, but if I have to say one thing, I'm about continuity. And I sit on this 23rd Street, this Northeast 23rd Street Steering Committee, and I listen to the conversations that I'm privy to now because of the location of it, right? And I want people to think of Oklahoma City as the crossroads of North America. Not just America, not just Oklahoma, but I-40 connects California to North Carolina, and 35 connects Canada to Mexico. And we sit right there at the crossroads of it. So when people get off of I-35 and they're traveling to the state capitol, they're traveling that corridor on 23rd Street, and they're looking around, and they're seeing the potential of it. You know, they're looking at, and I've been in rooms where people are salivating over it, and they're thinking about how they're going to carve it up and take this chunk for themselves, and they're going to take this chunk for this group in Edmond. They're going to take this chunk for this group in Norman. And I think about how do we preserve the history, the rich history that we have established on 23rd Street, that we have established down on Deep Deuce. How do we preserve the sentiment of Deep Deuce and of Black Wall Street, of business, of entrepreneurship? How do we make that corridor one that makes not only Black Oklahoma City proud, but Oklahoma proud because of where it sits, because people are going to get off of that exit to go visit the state capitol building? I look at that corridor as the crux of this entire race. I think whoever ends up in that seat, and I hope it's me, that corner, Martin Luther King and 23rd, will be our legacy. It's that important. It's that important to make sure that the requisite amount, the proper amount of GO bond funds, of MAPS funds, make their way to this part of the city, because it will allow us to employ our youth. It will keep them from being bored and broke. It will keep them off of the corners and off the streets, and that will help our public safety. It will help us all around, and that's why that's the number one issue for me, because it takes care of so many of the things that real Oklahoma City residents, Ward 7 residents have told me is important to them. Thank you.
All right, candidate number 2.
We are the most educated people that I know. From this time, we are the most educated, but we are the least informed. That is where we start. That is where we need to start running, is that we need to be informed when there's going to be a bond in our neighborhoods. We need to be informed when there's going to be a TIF in our neighborhoods. I'm not saying hood, I'm saying hoods, because this applies to each and every one of us. We need to start listening more to our neighbors, more to the residents. We need to listen. We're not listening. And the thing is that we have people that are really and truly trying to do things underneath our noses, and we're not being informed. Our community says, no, we don't want that. Why? Because there's gentrification. But they still do it anyway. But if we don't come together as a community and stand for what is right, we are going to get ran over. I keep saying this over and over again, is that we need to be as one. Not trying to pull somebody else down, not causing division in our communities, not redlining us and playing like it's not happening, not a food desert and playing like it's not happening. We need to stop playing games. This is real life, and games are being played with us day in and day out. Another community just called me the other day and said, we don't want this, but it's being forced down our throats. When are we going to start standing up and saying enough is enough? When are we going to come together and say, look, you voted this way, and I know you voted that way. You voted against us. See, we're playing politics. Don't play politics with my life. Because we are real, and our lives are real. And I need y'all to make some real decisions.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate number 3.
I'm so glad to highlight this issue because the number one thing that we have to address in this community is public safety. We want to make sure every part of our community, no matter how much money you have, no matter what you look like, you feel safe. And it's just as simple as this. I want my nephews to be able to walk around our neighborhood in Northeast Oklahoma City and wear a hoodie and know that they come home safe. I want to know that I could send my daughters to play at the playground across the street from our home at the park and know that they will come home safe. I want to know that if my wife gets pulled over by an Oklahoma City police officer, her life is safe. We have to make sure that this is the best place to live in Oklahoma City, and that starts by people being assured that when you come to our ward, you are safe. And so there are real policies that we can pass that will allow us to really address these issues. Number one, let's start recruiting more police officers from this community so that it's us that are working in our own community. Let's ensure that we do the de-escalation trainings that are needed with the police force in our community. Let's make sure that we're really addressing mental health and really empower those officers who don't carry guns and go and have the specialized training to really deal with mental health crises. And so we've got to focus on ending violence in our community and empowering organizations like Live Free that are right now doing the work with our youth to really ensure that we're ending violence. So we've got to address safety. We'll have more people who want to live in our community when we feel safe, and that's what we have to do.
Thank you, candidate. Last candidate.
It's hard to say just one, but if I had to pick just one, I would say economic development. A couple of days ago, our mayor talked about the unemployment rate being under 4% in Oklahoma City. But when you look at the unemployment rate in Northeast Oklahoma City, it is higher than any other part of our city. We have to, as a city, make sure that we are offering opportunities for everybody who lives in Ward 7, especially the underserved areas in Ward 7. People who live in Ward 7 deserve everything that all the other parts of our city have without displacing our community. You know, when we talk about renting, you know, rents now are 30% higher now than they was in 2021. We have to do something as a city to make sure that our people are not priced out. We also must end this redlining that happens too often in Northeast Oklahoma City, where, let's be frank, anywhere where you have people who look like you and I.
All right, thank you. We're at the portion now where we're going to go to the closing statements. So the closing statements, we're going to go 2 minutes, and I know all the candidates were in the lobby and they pulled numbers. And candidate number 1, you will start off with your closing statements, and your time starts now.
Thank you. This is Masood Haq. Again, I am the people's choice. We have establishments that want to make sure that they are represented on our city council. We have money. I don't have the same connections to Norman. I don't have the connections to the 1960s. I don't have the name that someone else established for me. I'm a man who's establishing my own name through the work that I do in this community. I ask that you look at my record. I ask that you look at my social media. Ask that you look at my website. Ask around about me. Ask who's actually doing the work in the community and not just making believe. Nobody on this panel is going to quit their job for a $12,000 position. So you have to ask yourself, what is this person doing outside of their job that will inform me what they'll be doing with this position? Because whatever you're doing now outside of what pays you is what you're going to be doing with city council. I'm not a person who's just going to show up when it's time for your vote. I'm not just a person who's going to show up when it's time to ask for some fundraising or some money. Ask about me. All the things that I spoke on today, I've done outside of what pays me. I'm a servant leader. I'm already building on 23rd Street. I'm already working to rid our area of nuisance businesses. I'm already working with city council. I'm already working with the leaders, and they've already identified me as someone that needs to be in place to help make decisions. Because, again, connecting resource to need. They see me as a resource to this community. I was reluctant to run until the leaders of this community asked me time and time again to do so. And it's because they recognize this in me. So I ask that you reconcile with yourself. Who is the one who's going to do it without the position? And then make your decision. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Pendleton, I thank you drew number 2. So your 2 minutes starts now.
Well, thank you again to Perry Publishing, and I want to thank my friends for, again, another great discussion. I'm Kamal Pennington. I'm an attorney, but most importantly, I'm a proud product of this community. You educated me, and you provided me with a great faith community, and gave me the chance to be my best self. Doesn't every kid in our community deserve that? No matter where you live, no matter how much money your parents make? And that's what our campaign is focused on how we can build the kind of community that we deserve. It starts, again, as I discussed, with making sure our community is safe, with a mutually respectful relationship with police, by investing in our streets, in our street lights, by really making sure that we are turning our renters, which are way too many in Northeast Oklahoma City, into homeowners. That we're actually making sure that our seniors in our community are able to age in place with dignity. We are supporting our infrastructure to ensure that our schools are there to build a great community, and that maps economically benefits not just downtown, but really helps us empower the entrepreneurs and artists of Ward 7. I am inspired by the leadership of so many people in our community, but I especially think today about Reverend Dr. John A. Reed Jr. And he served this community well, fought alongside us for justice. And in his last sermon that I was fortunate enough to attend, he was not focused on his past of 60 years of service and experience. He was focused on the future and what he could give. And his last words were, his sermon was about, "Behold, here comes the dreamer." And my dream for this community is that we make every kid able to live up to their God-given potential. I'm Kamal Pennington, and I'm asking for your vote on February 11th.
Thank you, candidate. Mr. Pettis, you drew number 3, closing statements.
Let the work that we've done together, let it speak for itself. Together, we made our community safe. We can say that we was able to decrease crime in our community by 20%. We can say when our community demanded police body cameras, that we were able to get it done. We can say that when the old Douglas Community Center was falling down, dilapidated, people could only use 25% of the old Douglas Community Center. We can say that we made sure that funding was available for a new state-of-the-art multi-generational community center could be built. Not on the south side, not on the northwest side, but it could be built right here in Northeast Oklahoma City. Like a preacher and a politician, I know how to talk, but I will leave you with this. Let the work that we've been able to do together, let it speak for itself.
All right, thank you. And then our last closing statement, Ms. Holman.
Red line, food desert, rezoning, These are the things that are crippling our neighborhoods. These are the things that we need to focus on and to make sure that they are not happening in our neighborhoods. Gentrification, we need to hit on that because that is sucking the life out of Oklahoma. If we don't believe, we're seeing it right now, 1 out of 4 elderly will be displaced. Why? Because of the things that are going on in our communities. Education, I have. Leadership, I have. Advocacy, I have. I learned how to do pro se a long time ago when there was no one to assist us, when things were happening to single females. I've learned how to go and get what it is that I want and what I need. I am in the community. I'm not coming for a vote. I am in the ground working, restructuring, reorganizing, so that things can be done decent and in order. These are the things that I bring. I bring a long list of accomplishments. And I dare not let anyone say that I have not. I have traveled the state advocating for children with disabilities. I have advocated for the prisoners. Why? Because I know family that is in prison right now. I advocate for those that are incarcerated to the max, but I also represent the elderly. I thank you, and I ask for your vote on February the 11th, because I bring much.
Thank you, candidate. All right, ladies and gentlemen, give all our candidates a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Make sure to scan that QR code. And I know we went a little bit long, but we wanted to give all the candidates an opportunity. So thank you very much for being here, as well as online, watching on YouTube TV, and streaming as well. And once again, make sure you tune into the Open Mic Talk Show tomorrow, 92.1 and 11:40, 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. And we'll be discussing these issues and more. Once again, thank you and good night, everyone.
That's cool. Did you see me like, I'm sugar? Yeah, just that.
These dogs are. I should have had on some cowboy boots because these shoes are tearing me up. Oh, look at you. Yeah. Good to see you too.